Okay, we should be live. We should be live. Let's get this started. So before I go any further, as I usually do, could I ask if anybody in the chat could let me know how the audio is? Just let me know if you guys can hear me good, and we'll get started. Shout out to Reese. Good to see you here, bro. Every time. God bless you. Good evening, Nordic. Have a great Christmas and God bless. Yeah, same to you, man. Same to you. God bless you. Every time. He lives, yeah. Yeah, it's been a while since I dropped a live stream, innit, man? Yeah, just been very busy, man. Been very busy with work. As I mentioned in my Josh Warrington video, been having a lot of technical issues and stuff like that. And I've also had a lot of other big projects that I've been working on. So yeah, just haven't really had much time on my hands lately. But yeah, it's Christmas. I got a few days off work. And yeah, just watched Die Hard, just had a curry. And I'm in a good mood, man. In a very good mood. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too, man. God bless you every time. Same to you, Reese, once again. Shout out to Based Rolf. Rolf Stoneface, good to see you here, bro. Merry Christmas from Windhelm, brother. Absolutely. Keep getting belligerently drunk and harassing them greyskins. Good afternoon to you too, brother. God bless you. Shout out to Iron Fist every time, man. God bless. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, health and happiness to you, your family. Same to you, bro. Same to you. Absolutely, man. You had a curry too. Yeah, it's a perfect thing to have on Christmas, isn't it? It's like the only thing that's open Christmas Eve that late is curry places, isn't it? Yeah, it was good, man. We had a nice curry. We watched Die Hard. Typical Christmas, really. Shout out to Lee Talks Boxing. Good to see you here, man. God bless. Yeah, like I was saying, it's been a while since I've been live. Just had a lot of other things going on. And yeah, it's a good time at the minute. Like I say, I got a good few days off work, a good like little 4-day weekend, and yeah, just chilling, man. How's everybody doing? Every Christmas. Yeah, same. That's what we usually do. Is we usually get a takeaway and watch a Christmas film. It's usually films such as Die Hard or Elf or one of them lot. One of the classics. Watch Die Hard this time. Oh, I needed that. Boxing schedule looks pretty dead in the next month or so. Best fight is Smith versus Eubank. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not really that interested in Smith versus Eubank. I think it's just another situation of Eubank fighting a guy who's tailor made for him. It'll be like him working a heavy bag. It kind of reminds me of Eubank taking on the likes of Nick Blackwell, for example. A guy who's just going to stand in front of him with a high guard, kind of that Joe Gallagher approach of just do nothing and absorb punishment on your arms for half the fight and try and come on strong late. But the problem is, you fight that way against Eubank, he's just going to tee off on you. He's going to hit you in the arms, the gloves. He's going to be hitting you with uppercuts all night, hitting you around the side to the body. He's going to get round the guard. He's going to get through the guard, and he's just going to put a beating on you. So, Liam Smith to me, stylistically, that style that he fights, that Joe Gallagher tight guard and just standing right in front of you all night, that's not going to work on Eubank. So, I think Eubank's probably going to stop him, or he's going to win a wide decision, and probably be one of Liam Smith's last fights, I think. So I don't really see that as very competitive. But you're probably right. It's probably one of the best fights coming up soon. Although, to be fair, one fight that has flown under the radar is, I believe, Kazuto Ioka's fighting soon, isn't he? He's fighting Franco, Joshua Franco. That's going to be a good fight. That's one that's getting little to no publicity at all, and I think that's going to be a good fight. But favor Ioka in that one because I think he's really underrated. If I remember rightly, I think they're fighting on New Year. Pretty sure they are. Shout out to Green and White. Yeah, good to see you here, bro. God bless. Happy Christmas from Dublin. Yeah, right back at you from Glasgow, man. God bless. Yeah, yeah. This year hasn't been a great year for boxing, man. It's been. I'd say there's probably less than a handful of fights that I've actually gave a crap about this year. I mean, Usyk versus AJ, the rematch was one that springs to mind. What else was there this year? Off the top of my head, I can't even think of anything I was that excited about. I mean, I guess Bivol versus Bivol versus Ramirez was one I was interested in, but it turned out to be a bit of a dud. Same with Taylor Catterall. A lot of these fights that I get excited about nowadays just turn out to be pretty boring. One fight that I can't see being boring for the early part of next year that I think is going to be a great one to watch at very least is the Beterbiev versus Yard fight. That's going to be a great fight. I don't see that going the distance. I'll be surprised if it does, man. But yeah, it'd be a great fight. Elf is great. Yeah, absolutely is, man. I watched the Santa Claus the other day. Both of those remind me of being a kid. Yeah, yeah, those are classic, just like childhood Christmas movies, aren't they? Like I remember when Elf came out in I think it was 2003, and I can remember seeing it after school. It was either the Friday or the Saturday after school. Sorry, it was either the Friday after school or it was the next day, Saturday, when it came out. And I can't remember which, but I remember seeing it. Like I remember talking about it at school before seeing it and getting hyped about it. And that was one of my all-time favorite Christmas films as a kid. It's just so funny, and it's one of them films that they just you'd see the trailer for a film like that, and you'd see that it stars Will Ferrell and the kind of brand of humor that he brings to the table, and you'd never expect it to be so funny. But it's one of them films that's just so well written, if you know what I mean. Like the jokes are a lot more clever than they get credit for. It's one of the like true great Christmas comedies, and then you got Die Hard, which is of course is a different type of movie, action film. Not only is it one of the best Christmas films ever, but it's one of the best action films ever. Not that we haven't heard your thoughts on the obviously fixed Dubois versus. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, I didn't really have anything to say about that fight. I thought about making a video, but the problem is, look, it was a situation where I'm just sick and tired of it at this point. I'm sick and tired of coming on here and talking about these obvious dives in boxing and talking about these scripted fights and having people just ridicule me for it. I felt with that situation, it was so obvious to the point where everybody was talking about it. Like even the normies were calling that fight a fix. And I just thought to myself, you know what? I just can't be bothered. What could I really say? I'd basically just be repeating other people, in regards to that fight. But yeah, I mean, flipping, it was a disgrace. I mean, the dude literally caught Dubois by accident in the first round. Didn't even really hit him that hard. But Dubois' knee went. I think Dubois ended up. I don't know if he like pulled a muscle in his knee or in his leg or whatever. And he took two knees after that. And again, those weren't even really knockdowns. They were just him going down from the discomfort that he was feeling. And yeah, he of course just refused. I mean, Dubois just refused to fight in that first round, and he was ready to go. He was. I don't know. To me, it was a situation where he was right there for the taking. He didn't want to fight, and yeah, it's what else can I say about it? It is what it is. But yeah, I thought about making a video, but just I didn't even want to because other people were talking about it, and I kind of like to do my own thing. I would have just been repeating people. I mean, Lorena, what can I say about him? He disgraced himself, but again, I'm repeating myself at this point because he's not the only one, is he? I mean, it's been happening for years. It's just the only difference with that fight. The only difference with that fight was that it was so obvious to where you couldn't even deny it. And I know you had people like Chris Andre and whatnot coming out and doing the mental gymnastics trying to explain, no, no, this was what really happened and this is what he was really thinking. But even at that point, nobody could deny it with that fight. It was so obvious, it wasn't like with Canelo's fights where you can say, oh, the counter punching and the head movement, this, that, and the other. With that fight, it was too obvious. Okay, Lorena had Dubois literally wanting to quit. He had him stumbling all over the place, falling to the floor, taking a knee, looking for every excuse to get out of the fight, and he just does it, and he just stops throwing punches. I mean, what else can I say about it, man? That's that little rant over. Can't wait for Beterbiev, Bivol, Fury, Usyk, and Lomachenko, Haney. Hopefully the fights happen. Yeah, yeah, Beterbiev, Bivol. I mean, that fight's if that fight doesn't happen, that'll be a bloody shame because look, undisputed, for what it's worth. Both guys undefeated, both guys Russian, both guys pretty much at the top of their game right now. I know Beterbiev's getting on a bit, but despite his age, how old is he? What, 38, 37, something like that? Despite that, he's still in great shape. He's still undefeated, perfect record, every fight won by knockout. And his last fight, he looked better than ever against Joe Smith Jr. So yeah, I mean that fight's ripe at the moment. It doesn't need to marinate at all. But the problem is we've got this Anthony Yard situation, which is a great fight in itself. But we're kind of hoping, obviously, hardcore boxing fans like you and I, we're kind of hoping for Beterbiev to just get that fight out of the way. He doesn't want to look past Yard, obviously, but we really want to see that Bivol fight because it's definitely one of the best fights that could be made in recent years in boxing. But we'll see. Fury, Usyk, Lomachenko, Haney. Again, it's the same situation. Those are undisputed fights. Those fights are in demand right now. But boxing fans, we don't tend to get what we want really very often, do we? And I can't see there being three undisputed fights in the 1 year of that magnitude. I just can't see it. But we'll see, man. We'll see. Yeah, yeah, Lorena, Kevin Lorena. Uh, Best Christmas films are Scrooged and Lethal Weapon. Yeah, yeah, Scrooged is a funny comedy, man. I like that. Seen that as a kid too, and Lethal Weapon's good too. It's a great action film. What's your outlook on boxing next year? Well, I mean, as you guys know, I've been pretty disillusioned with boxing for quite a while. It's something that I kind of I don't follow it as closely as I used to because it's a little bit. I don't know. It's a pain in the ass. It's just it's a situation where look, there's fights that can happen next year, great fights, like the previously mentioned, the Usyk Fury and the Beterbiev and the Loma fight and whatnot, and Bivol and Haney, whoever else. Bivol Beterbiev is definitely the one I'm looking forward to most if it happens. But like I was saying before, I'm jaded with boxing because it's very rare that we get more than a couple of great fights, like fights of genuine consequence in 1 year. We usually have to wait years for those types of fights to happen. I mean, Usyk and Fury should have already fought. We should have already had undisputed in the heavyweight division, and I'm past caring about it at this point, to be perfectly honest, man. On the 31st, yeah, is that that's when Kazuti Ioka's fighting, isn't it? On the 31st, he's a great fighter, by the way. He's one that kind of went under the radar, but he's definitely one of the best. Technically, at least, he's one of the best pound for pound fighters. I mean, Japan's been doing well, man, with boxing. Between him and Naoya Inoue, those are two like great fighters that have proven themselves at this point to be pound for pound. And Inoue, of course, made Paul Butler run like a bitch for flipping 11 rounds before quitting. I mean, that was another one I considered talking about, but pretty much other people like Del Boy and Precise and whatnot had basically summed up my thoughts on that fight, and that is that Paul Butler showed up to run, spoil, survive, and still ended up quitting, and got credit for it too. I mean, it shows you the absolute state of British boxing right now when a guy can literally run and do nothing, have the champion drop his hands, literally begging you to hit him in the face just to make it an entertaining fight for the crowd. And he gets credit for it, man. I don't get it. I really don't. But yeah, Ioka versus Inoue, that was what I was going to say. That's a great fight if it happens, man. Eubank versus Williams knockdowns were some of the fakest knockdowns I've ever seen. Yeah, I mean, speculative jabs. That's what they are. He was walking into speculative jabs and going down. It was pathetic, bro. It really was. Yeah, good point. Probably the worst year for boxing in terms of me watching it. Same here. I probably watched less fights this year than any year as an adult watching boxing. Probably. I cared that less about them. Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. Katie Taylor is an 80K stadium fight next year. You having a laugh? Yeah, well, they're gonna have to give away a lot of tickets, aren't they, to justify that, man? That's just like that's just affirmative action boxing, man. That's all that is. Flipping women's boxing. They belong in the kitchen or on their back after they've made me a sandwich, of course. Red Glove Militant, God bless you, bro. God bless you. Great to see you here, brother. I caught some of your live stream the other day, and yeah, that was a fun one. Without the knockdowns, Liam's won that fight. I agree. I had him winning that fight with the knockdowns, to be honest, because outside of those knockdowns, one of which wasn't really a knockdown, it was a mistake from the referee. Without them, every single second of that fight was won by Liam Williams. Eubank didn't want to fight, and Liam Williams was the only guy throwing punches. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too, Red Glove Militant man. God bless you every time. Quite a few boxing fights remind me of WWE. Yeah, exactly. I've been saying that for years, bro. That there's a lot of fights that are WWE-ish. Just I don't know, man. Like I'm sick of repeating myself at this point. I really am. Like I was saying earlier about the Kevin Lorena situation. I mean, I didn't even bother making a video because even all the normies were calling that a fixed fight because it was that obvious. Everybody but Chris Andre. We call them normies. Yeah, yep, that we do. That we do. Baturbiev will fight Callum Smith after Yard. That's interesting to me because I wouldn't mind that fight. Like Baturbiev versus Callum Smith would be a fun fight. But like I'm saying, that Beevil fight, there's no reason for it not to happen. It's a fight that's in demand right now. So Callum Smith can wait his turn as far as I'm concerned. But the fight itself isn't a bad fight. Just taking that fight at face value. Yeah, I agree. The Baturbiev Yard is quite interesting. I don't think that Yard will be an easy opponent. But then again, I thought the same with Smith Jr. Yeah, I think most people saw that Smith Jr. fight as a situation where Baturbiev was just a better fighter, and I think we all knew the likely outcome was that he was going to win by stoppage. But I don't think anybody expected it to be that quick. Like, I don't think anybody expected Smith to just stand in front of him like a dummy and get blown away that early. I mean, it was just absolutely foolish tactics from Joe Smith in that fight. I mean, I'm not saying he would have ever won the fight, but he shouldn't have been getting taken out that early. I mean, even flipping that German guy, what's his name, Coaling, and even he lasted like way longer than Smith Jr. did. So I mean, yeah, that was a poor performance. Agreed about having to wait for you. Yeah, usually when we get fights of that magnitude, it's usually years in between. We don't usually get that many fights in one year, like that many big, meaningful fights of consequence. Usually we have to wait for them to quote unquote marinate. We can call out the Butler bitch experience. Yeah, that's the thing. He didn't even come to win. He had undisputed on his t-shirt or whatever, or his team did. And he goes in that ring and it was your typical Joe Gallagher bullshit. Stand there with a high guard on the back foot doing nothing for the majority of the fight and just hope the guy tires. Naoya Inoue is not going to tire. That guy's an athlete. And he's dropping his hands saying, come on, what's the matter, man? Throw some punches. Let's give the crowd a good fight. And that's why I respect Inoue. Now, and that's the thing. I don't usually like showmanship in boxing. I don't usually like showboating. But Inoue was trying to make it a fight. He was trying to make it competitive for his fans in the crowd over in Japan. He wanted a good fight because Butler just wasn't giving him a good fight. He wasn't putting up any resistance. So yeah, that was a pretty pitiful and shameful performance from Butler. But at least he got paid. At least he got paid. Yeah, Ioka's highly underrated. Japan's first four-weight champion. Yeah, Ioka. Again, like I was saying, that's one of them fights I'm looking forward to. The Ioka Franco fight, and I do think it's one of them ones that's really gone under the radar. And I think Ioka could be one of the best pound for pound fighters just based on skill. Um, and it'll be really interesting to see him get in there with Inoue because they're not too far apart in terms of weight. It could easily happen. Does Ioka want the Sonny Edwards smoke? Oh man, what I would pay to see that fight, man. Could you imagine that fight in Japan? That'd be funny, man. Did you play video games though? Well, I've actually got later tonight. I'm uploading something to my gaming channel, which you might a Christmas special, which you might enjoy. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Much respect. Good to see you here, Tony. God bless you, Tony Boswell. And the chat, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. May God bless you and your family with peace and prosperity. Same to you. Same to you, brother. Every time. God bless you. Well, I'm sure you did, but not any of the new ones. No, I've not been playing any new games lately. What was the last one I played through? Come to think of it, it was Legend of Dragoon. That was the last one I played through. But I've got another review coming that I made recently, and that's coming tonight. Yeah, absolutely. Same to you, brother. Shout out to Fight Film, aka Precise. Merry Christmas to you, man. Merry Christmas. God bless you, brother. Hope you and the family are doing well. Fury Joshua could have happened from mid 2020 to late 2021, and it didn't. Couldn't Fury have agreed to rematch Wilder after Joshua, or was he obligated to have the title on the line for Wilder? I don't know all the details of the contract for Fury and Wilder, but I'm assuming he would probably have had to have the title because Wilder, of course, had the rematch clause, didn't he, with the WBC? So I'm assuming that the arbitration, whatever that was all about, I'm assuming it had to be the next fight. But yeah, because remember, Fury wanted to fight like that late that year, didn't he? But Wilder wouldn't allow it. He had to fight him next. That's the official story. I don't know all the ins and outs. Merry Christmas. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you, bro. God bless. Who do you think is the most wasted talent right now? My opinion, Josh Warrington. I said this in my last video. Josh Warrington is, in my opinion, he's the most underrated British fighter, the most technically skilled British fighter. He might not be the most talented, but I think he's the most skilled. And he's not fighting like it. He's just fighting like an idiot. And yeah, he's standing in front of Mexicans and trying to brawl with these guys. I'm like, what is he thinking? I don't get it, man. Yep. Merry Christmas to Fight Film and you, Lee. Absolutely, brother. What the new normies are missing is that Lorena Dubois is nuance. Clearly, that fight was an oopsie. How many fixes go as planned? Few notice. Yeah, absolutely precise. Like, that's the thing. That fight was so obvious because it almost didn't go to script. Like, Lorena, it seemed to me like Lorena hit Dubois harder than he was supposed to because he didn't seem to put a lot behind that punch. But the punch landed just on the right area. And I'm talking about the overhand left. I think it was the first punch he landed in the first round that caused the knockdown. The punch hit him just on the right part of the head to where he stumbled, and you notice his leg went, and that was what really caused the knockdown. So it's like Lorena wasn't intending to do that. I don't think he intended to knock Daniel Dubois down. I think what happened there was he just caught him by accident. And yeah, it was a situation where he was like, "Shit, I wasn't supposed to do that." And it kind of reminded me of when Deontay Wilder got hit by Eric Molina. You remember that fight? And Eric Molina just stood back and let him recover. It was similar to when Seth Mitchell, when he fought, was it Jonathan Banks in the rematch? And of course he had no chin, Seth Mitchell, and Jonathan Banks had numerous opportunities to knock him out like he did in the first fight, but he didn't. And again, I see what you're saying. It's a situation where he accidentally almost took him out, and he had to take the foot off the gas. And it was, like I said, it's just so obvious that even the normies couldn't deny it. They were like, "Yeah, this is something's going on here." And it's like you're saying, how many fights do we see where they're more where they go to plan? They're more convincing, but we know that they're fixed. Like we've been saying about Canelo fights, that there's so many fixed fights in boxing. It's just that some fighters are better actors, some fighters are better prepared for going down just the right way to where it doesn't look obvious or it looks like they're trying. And that was one of them fights, man. So yeah, absolutely. I agree. I agree. Even though he's highly thought of currently, I think Fury's a wasted talent. He should have been in so many more fights against ranked opposition. I agree. We definitely could have seen, let's say after he got the win over Klitschko, if Fury had kept the titles and if he'd have fought the rematch, won the rematch, and kept fighting at that level for years, we would have seen probably he might have lost along the way, but we would have seen probably a lot more interesting fights. And I think they would have brought out the best in him. I think we would really have seen what he was made of. Ioka will stop Franco. I think he'll definitely beat him, but I still think it's a good fight. You know, both of them are pretty tough. Ioka will tear Franco apart. Yeah, I definitely favour him for the win. Merry Christmas to you too, Phil. God bless. I watched Warrington versus Kiko 1, and then rewatched Warrington versus Lopez. Genuinely like two different fighters, completely different styles. He boxed Kiko and he fought Lopez. Yeah, he did. And that's the thing. Look at his fight against Carl Frampton and the way he took Carl Frampton apart systematically. Same with Lee Selby. He showed, in my opinion, this is just my personal opinion. Some people disagree. My opinion, he showed elite level boxing IQ because he didn't have the physical ability that Frampton had. You know, he didn't have the power, the strength, the speed, but he was able to come forward. He was able to use his high guard, his boxing fundamentals, catch all the shots, get inside and fight sort of like a buzzsaw. You know, it was similar to how Joe Calzaghe would fight. You know, he would get inside on some of these guys and just constantly work them, but throw punches at the right kind of angles to where he's catching them on the inside and slipping shots and barely getting hit. You know, that was how that was how talented or how skilled Josh Warrington looked to me in those fights. And we haven't seen the same fighting skills since. You know, we've seen a guy who is just trying to brawl and be an idiot in the ring, you know? Or at least that's how it looks to me, you know? Warrington pissed me off in the Lopez fight. Disappointed. Yeah, I'm disappointed too, man. I really am. Because he could have won that fight. He had the skills to win it. Josh Taylor has that wasted talent vibe about him. Continuously trying to make 140 when he can't anymore. Yeah, I agree. Look, if truth be told, I've kind of given up on Josh Taylor. I've kind of given up on him. Not really interested in his career anymore. And I don't see him fighting that much longer, put it that way. A big problem with boxing is the abundance of hardcore casuals. As Precise has mentioned, they watch every fight and still have very little understanding of what actually happens. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And if I was to elaborate that on that a little bit further, I'd say that there's a lot of these guys who do understand what's going on, particularly, and I'm not going to name too many names here, but Chris Andre is obviously one of them, but and guys like Hatman and whatnot. You know, these guys. There's a lot more examples. Those are just like some of the more obvious ones. These guys know a certain thing about boxing, right? They understand how to look at fights, how to slow them down, and how to break down what's going on. But there's information that they won't put out there, and there's words that they won't use, they won't discuss a lot of the nuances. And the reason why is because they want to open up doors for themselves in the industry of boxing. You know, they want to get interviews, they want to get access to these fighters, and they want to grow their audience and make as much money as possible, which I understand. But if they were to come out and do what people like we do, like me, Fight Film, Del Boy, Lee, all us lot, if they were to come out and just say what we really think, these guys wouldn't get anywhere near as much coverage. Like they wouldn't get anywhere near as many of the casuals that we talk about subscribing to their channels because casuals just don't want to hear that stuff. You know, if you ever talk to casual boxing fans, they will do utterly everything that they can do to convince themselves that every fight is real 100% of the time. You know, they just don't want to entertain the idea that any fight could be fixed, and they don't want to talk about like the corruption and the criminal element to boxing. You know, they don't want to talk about how there's all this money laundering that goes on in the sport. You know, there's literal gangsters, people like Daniel Kinahan and James Prince, because if they talk about this stuff, Yeah, it might get them a bit of notoriety, but it's not gonna get them any access. You know, the promoters and the networks and whatnot are not gonna wanna work with these people. You know, they're not gonna get a new gig, so to speak. You know, they're not gonna get hired to be commentators or pundits. And, yeah, yeah, pretty much, I think my point I'm trying to make is, I know I'm kinda rambling here, but my point is some of these guys know a lot more than they let on about boxing, but they're just not willing to openly say it because they don't wanna get cancelled, and they don't want to drive away or alienate a certain portion of their audience, you know? They want every contingent possible to be their viewing audience, you know, because that means less money, or more money, sorry. And they end up going with the mainstream narratives. Yeah, yeah. That's exactly what they'll do because that's the most profitable thing to do, you know, is to go with the mainstream narrative. You know, if you go with a mainstream narrative, you know, the algorithms will promote you. You will get, like I said, more normies subscribing to you, and you'll get more access. Here's what it is, man. It's what we've come to expect at this point. Think Conlon will beat Lopez. Um, do you know what? I think he could beat Lopez, but we'll see how he looks like in his next fight because Conlon, you know, he got knocked out pretty badly, even though he was winning. I think to me, Conlon, I don't know how he's going to look when he gets hit on the chin by a world class fighter because that was a pretty nasty knockout. So I'm still not convinced on Conlon. We'll see how he looks. I know he did fight since then, but you know he didn't look spectacular, did he? And again, we don't know how he's going to react if he gets hit again by a genuine puncher. You know. I don't trust Conlon to win a fight against a puncher with his Booth style. Yeah, look, that Adam Booth style only works if you've got the attributes physically to pull it off. Like if you've got the kind of power and the kind of explosive speed that someone like George Groves or David Hay has, then yeah, you can fight that way. But if you're a Josh Kelly, a guy who's not a particularly big puncher and not particularly naturally athletic, then in my personal opinion, you need better boxing fundamentals. And I put Michael Conlon in that same category. The guy doesn't know how to punch properly, or if he does, he just doesn't do it enough, and he's not prolific enough with his punches to be effective with that kind of style. I mean, he could have beaten Lee Wood, in my opinion, if he'd had a more traditional trainer in his corner. Nordic, who do you think has the worst fan base in boxing history? It has to be Mike Tyson, in my opinion. For me, the way his fanboys used it in his prime excuse every time you bring up one of his L's. Yeah, the Mike Tyson fan base, I've noticed, and I'm not the only one who's noticed this. They tend to be the non-sports fan, if you know what I mean. Like Mike Tyson fans who act as if this guy's unbeatable, that he can beat anybody. They're reminiscent of the Bruce Lee fans who think that Bruce Lee would beat everybody in the UFC. You know, that's what they remind me of. Like they're people that don't really understand combat sports. They don't really understand boxing, and yeah, they see Mike Tyson's highlights, but you wonder to yourself, have they ever actually watched a full one of his fights, or do they just watch the highlights and think, yeah, this guy's too powerful and unstoppable? You know, it's reminiscent of the Anthony Joshua fan base, how they thought because he was big and muscular and had some early knockouts that nobody could last 3 rounds with him and stuff like that. It was ridiculous. And for me, the worst, I definitely think you've got a point about Mike Tyson because his fan base, I'd say they're not even boxing fans, to be honest. I'd say Wilder's fans are the most delusional, though, because these guys are boxing fans, but they're just so ideologically possessed that they just can't look past anything about the guy, if you know what I mean. So I'd say they're probably the most unhinged fan base I've ever come across. Have you seen the video of a woman getting arrested in Scotland for silently praying outside an abortion clinic? Saw it yesterday. I saw the headline of the video, I saw the title, but I didn't watch it. And the reason I didn't watch it is because it would just infuriate me if I watched it. So yeah, but yeah, that just what can I say? That sums up the absolute state of this country. I mean, a woman is praying for murdered children, you know, children that have been murdered by reprobate piece of shit mothers who don't want to take responsibility for their own action, which is what people who have abortions are. Um, I don't give a shit who gets offended by that. Yeah, praying for murdered children gets you arrested in this country. I mean, Nicola Sturgeon, somebody needs to bitch slap that fucking degenerate. I'm not even kidding. What she's done to this country. I'm getting wound up now, and it's Christmas. So yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna continue to pray for the unborn, and I'm going to continue to let me not even go there. But yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about, bro. God bless you. Yes, man. God bless the base boxing basement, the Triple B man. Great to see you here, bro. God bless you. Just Just watch Fat Andy, Gay J1. What a fight! Yeah, yeah, that's a fun fight to watch, man. It's a fun fight to watch. I mean, it's one of them fights. It's just such a spectacle, isn't it? Like seeing a morbidly obese little fat half Mexican knock out that big roided up bodybuilder is quite fun to watch, man. Shout out to Del Boy, Blue Collar Sports TV. Good to see you here, bro. AKA Disturbed Reality. Merry Christmas, Nordic and chat. Yeah, great to see you here, bro. God bless you, man. Every time. You're doing great with the channel. Choco versus Estrada 3. What do you think about them hanging out months prior to the fight? Do you think this was play by Estrada to soften Choco? Estrada looked totally fresh from that fight many fights ago. Sorry, Juice. I don't know, man. To be perfectly honest, I didn't even watch the third fight. The second fight was all I needed to see. To be honest, I mean, Chocolatito's the better fighter, but what I kept thinking to myself going into the third fight was he going to get the decision? That was literally my only concern about that fight was would Chocolatito get the decision? And yeah, didn't stay up for it, didn't watch it, and heard the result, and it was pretty much what I expected, a controversial decision for Estrada, but Chocolatito, apparently, according to reputable people, should have won. Well, Choco looked like he didn't want to hurt Estrada, take the completely serious. I don't know, man. Maybe Chocolatito is aging a bit and he doesn't have that same instinct that he used to have. But I don't know, man. I'd need to watch it to let you guys know. My 2 cents, Jones Jr., most Superman athleticism, and Devin Haney's fan gaze are strong candidates. Well, yeah, the Roy Jones fans, the people who say that before he moved down in weight, he was unstoppable. But before he moved down in weight, nobody could touch him. This, that, and the other. All you got to do is watch Roy Jones's fights. Before that happened, you'll see him get dropped by Lou Del Val. You'll see him struggle with a 40-year-old Mike McCallum. You'll see him get pieced up here and there, struggling with Montel Griffin. Look, Roy Jones, he was a beatable fighter who got the right fights at the right time, and when he started to fight elite level competition, that's when he started to show his limitations. Maybe the weight had something to do with it, but let's not pretend that he didn't get dropped by like the likes of Del Val and didn't struggle with those guys I mentioned, like Griffin and McCallum and whatnot. He wasn't unbeatable. Right, it's the same situation with Tyson. Tyson wasn't unbeatable before he left Kevin Rooney, like these normie boxing fans seem to think. Right, he was just as beatable as anybody. He just happened to be in a position where he got the right fights at the right time, to build up his reputation. Who wins, Bruce Lee or Francis Ngannou? Oh, Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee swings his leg up, touches Francis Ngannou on the chin with his toe, and snaps his head off, and his head goes flying through the roof, because it's Bruce Lee and he's unbeatable. Could you imagine that, man? I could beat Bruce Lee. I'm not even kidding. Mike Tyson got beat by crackheads. Yeah, literally, didn't he? Yep, big up Triple B and Delboy in the chat. God bless him. Mike Tyson would never beat Fury or the Klitschko's or Lewis. I agree. Too big for him. I doubt he would beat Hay or Povetkin. I would favor him over Hay. And the reason I say that is because stylistically, Hay was absolutely awful against that type of fighter. I'm talking about shorter guys who could get inside, bob and weave, work into the body and hit him with hooks and uppercuts. Look at Hay when he fought Jacoby Fragomeni, for example. That would have been, to me, that's a situation that Mike Tyson would have put him in, except Tyson hit way harder and was way stronger. I think he would have knocked Hay out. Povetkin, on the other hand, in my personal opinion, would have beaten Tyson at his own game. I think he would have maybe struggled early with Tyson's aggression, but his better boxing skills, his better stamina, better chin, better heart, and a more intelligent approach to the sport would have figured Tyson out. And I think he would have worn Tyson down, and I think he would have knocked Tyson out late. As for the Klitschko's or Lewis, I think they destroy Tyson. I agree, they're too big, too athletic, too skilled. I think they win easily. I think they knock him out. God bless Mighty Max Boxing. Good to see you here, man. Yeah, I've been great. Like I was saying earlier, man, I had a curry. We watched Die Hard. I've had a good Christmas, man. It's been great. Got a few days off work and I'm chilling. It's great, man. I'm having a great time. Good job with the channel, by the way. Spence Jr. fans are really annoying too. Dude never beat a man his size, his prime, and these guys act like Spence beat Beterbiev every time he wins. Well, you remember when Spence beat Kell Brook, and that was Kell Brook moving down in weight, who was weight drained, right? And they acted as if he was already a pound for pound fighter. That was his first ever world title fight, his first ever time, actually fighting on the road. And yeah, he won, and he won well, and he had a good performance. But they overblew it, if you know what I mean. And it's been following the same pattern ever since with him. I agree, Rolf. I agree, man. Yeah, Rolf. Povetkin beats Tyson. I have no doubt. Prime Povetkin beats Prime Tyson, in my opinion. Yeah, happy times for the next few days. Absolutely, man. I'm chilling. I've turned my phone off because I don't want anybody bothering me this Christmas. We're having a nice quiet Christmas. We're gonna chill out, and yeah, we're not gonna have any stress. Thought Choco hurt Estrada later on in the fight. Think Estrada was too crafty to get knocked out. Choco should have gotten the decision. That seems to be the general consensus from people who I've spoken to who know boxing. They seem to think that just like the second and the first fight, particularly the second, Chocolatito was the guy landing the clean, effective punches, and he should have won. Again, I haven't watched the third fight, but if I do, I do mean to at some point, and when I do, I'll potentially give my opinion. Yes, Gay J versus Fat Andy was like watching a Tarantino movie. Just looked wrong. Tarantino is a wrong un. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Tarantino. He's one of them directors where when you watch one of his films, you get the sense that if anybody else made this, people would be like, "What is this crap? This is ridiculous. It's boring." But because it's Tarantino, they say, "Oh, the esoteric symbolism and the meanings and the themes. Oh, it's amazing." Like, yeah, yeah, whatever. His movies are boring, in my opinion. Clearly, there's a concerted effort to ignore the involvement of multiple gangsters in boxing. Whoever mentioned Sean Gibbons and Aaron being investigated by the FBI for match fixing? Exactly. You never hear that. And that did happen. Let's not forget that there's the documentary. I've spoke about this before. The documentary years ago on the IBF, where it turned out that the IBF had been taking bribes for what was the name of that documentary? I believe it was the dark side of boxing or something like that. The IBF were taking bribes from all sorts of organizations to prop up certain fighters in the rankings. We've had and Bob Arum was involved in that, as was Cedric Kushner, um, as well as Hasim Rahman and Lewis and guys like that. Tyson, all the big name heavyweights at that point were there was gangsters involved with all of them. We've had, of course, Jay Prince managing fighters. This is a guy who's known to be involved in crime. We've got flipping heroin dealers like the Kinahan cartel, laundering money through fights, brokering fights, actually setting up management for these fighters, poaching fighters off of other management companies, and basically using them as a front. We know this. This is not a conspiracy theory, but so many of these channels who have all these big followings won't talk about it. And like yourself, they won't talk about it because they want to keep their access. Gay J getting knocked out by Ruiz is an absolute embarrassment. Ruiz is Chisora level. Yeah, I've never been that high on Ruiz personally. Not at all, man. Choco and Estrada's engines has definitely gotten worse. Well, they are getting on a bit, aren't they? So when you're that size, you're a small guy, and you're having to make weight for that division. Over the years, having so many training camps, it's bound to take it out of you over time. So I can imagine they've little bit shot at this point. Prime Roy struggled with Jorge Castro at 160, I believe. Yeah, yeah, but he could never. No, nobody could ever touch Roy though. He can't be touched. He can't be stopped. He can't be moved. He can't be rocked. We shook, we hat. When will you niggers learn? Yeah. Frank Warren's cousin was a genuine mobster. Yeah, Frank Warren was related to Lenny McLean, if I remember rightly. The famous London hard man who was sort of an enforcer for the craze. I think he was an enforcer for the mob in London, and yeah, he was. I'm sure he was related to Frank Warren. I think he was his cousin. But yeah, Frank Warren doesn't have any mob connections, does he? Except for the Kinahans. Yeah, he did. Me too, but he didn't take that fight completely serious. Still, you can't find 7 rounds for Estrada at max 6. Estrada looked like Marquez in the last Pacquiao fight. Nordic, I saw a good movie last night. It's called Margin Call. I've never heard of it. What was it about? I might check it out then. Look at Prime Roy Jones versus a shot Mike McCallum. Roy struggled with McCallum's fundamentals. Yeah, he did. I mean, he won the fight. Don't get me wrong. He won it pretty clearly. But McCallum in that fight was able to go the distance. He was able to back Roy up. I think if I remember rightly, he had him on the ropes at one point, and he was definitely able to catch him more than a few times. So, again, and that's an old Mike McCallum where he was like, what, 39, 40? So it's not as if Mike McCallum at that stage of his career was an elite fighter. I'd say he was years past his prime, and Roy was probably at his very peak. That was Roy at the peak of his powers when he was a super middleweight, I believe. So, or was it light heavyweight? It was one or the other, but either way, it might have been light heavyweight. But yeah, it was definitely peak prime Roy Jones when he was running through guys. So it's not as if Roy never had moments in his career where he looked beatable. He certainly did. Rui's Gay J1 is like an opera, so beautiful and yeah, so ugly. Yeah, yeah. It's like a freak show, isn't it? That's what that fight reminds me of, man. Yep, keep your hands up and counter wide open Roy. Easier said than done, I know. But he wasn't Superman. Green B Hop made him look pedestrian. Yep. B Hop went the distance with him, and was able to catch him here and there. He just struggled with the speed and the athleticism. But if you had comparable athleticism and speed to the best fighters of that era, you could have caught Roy and stopped him. Which is why he didn't want to fight the likes of, and of course, if you had fundamentals on top of that, which is why he didn't want to fight the likes of Mikulchevsky and Rogiani and guys like that, because those guys would have put it on him and they would have been a real stylistic problem for him. Not saying they definitely would have beaten him, but they would have been a big problem. Thanks, Nordic. Die Hard 1 and 3 were awesome. 2 was a dud. Haven't seen 4. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think the first Die Hard, in my personal opinion, and that's what I just watched tonight. To me, it was a great standalone movie, and I don't really think it needed to be a trilogy. If you know what I mean, I don't think it needed to be a franchise. I think the first movie had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that was all it needed really. But yeah, like every franchise, it makes money. They just got to they got to flipping milk them, haven't they? So they got to keep making them. And yeah, the second and third were, to me, they were quite forgettable. The fourth was, again, it wasn't a bad movie necessarily, but it was unnecessary. It didn't need to exist. And the fifth one was complete garbage. I remember seeing that at the cinema. In fact, I saw that on my birthday, the year it came out, in the cinema. And yeah, that was terrible. The fifth one. Yeah, like I said, the first one was a great standalone movie. Didn't need to be a franchise, in my personal opinion. But it's a classic. Ioka Franco, quick prediction. I'm going to go with Ioka by a wide decision. A stoppage wouldn't surprise me, but I think a wide decision is most likely. And we should always remind Spence fans that their hero became a champion thanks to Golovkin softening up Brook for him. Yeah, he did. And then, of course, Brook went back down in weight to defend his title, and flipping looked flipping drained, because again he'd been fighting at middleweight, which was really his natural weight, and yeah, it was ridiculous, man. Sean Gibbons is such a crook. Yeah. What's your favorite war movie? My favorite war movie, Hacksaw Ridge from Mel Gibson. I think I reviewed that a while back, but yeah, that's a great film, man. I'd recommend it. Based on a true story. Sup Nordic? Yeah, good to see you here, bro. God bless. Does Tim Tszyu have a chance to beat Charlo? He has a chance. Like, look, Tim Tszyu's a good boxer, and yeah, he's improving. But again, he's been knocked down. I don't think he has the kind of athletic ability that some guys in that division have. And I don't know, man. There's something about Tim Tszyu that he looks somewhat vulnerable to me, and I could see even if he's able to outbox Charlo, I could see Charlo catching him and knocking him out late, kind of like he did to um, Castano in the last fight. How about that MTK shooting? Oh yeah, which one? There was a few of them, man. Yeah, that's the thing. MTK was dodgy in the sense that when they were operating out of Spain, there was more than one person got shot in broad daylight, and yeah, it was generally well believed that Kinahan was behind it. Daniel Kinahan. But what do I know? Allegedly, AJ's a good fighter, just not as good as the fanboys said he was. Yeah, the fanboys thought that nobody could last 3 rounds against him. Then all these MTK affiliates laying down for Prime Canelo. Yeah, for Primo Carnello. That's a good one. Primo Carnello. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it says it all, doesn't it? I'm sure those were all just real fights. I'm sure it was just the head movement and the counter punching and the supreme defense and the claws and the technical skill that gave Canelo those victories. It had nothing to do with, him being the front for the mob or for the establishment. Nordic, do you support an Irish Republic and an independent Scotland? Well, I'm not Irish as far as I'm aware, so no, I don't really care about Ireland, but independent Scotland. Well, there's no chance of an independent Scotland. That could never happen because the Scottish government here, the SNP, are cultural Marxist, anti-white, anti-Scottish, anti-Christian, reprobate scum, and to them, there's no intrinsic value in being a Scottish citizen. So, as far as I'm concerned, Scotland can fuck off. I don't care. There's never going to be an independent Scotland because you could say independent, but independent from who? I mean, if they're independent from the Union, fair enough, but they're not going to be independent from the EU, are they? Okay, the EU, which is unelected European officials ran by flipping the World Economic Forum and NATO, who are slowly starving us all, plunging us into the third world, flooding our country with third world trash. And yeah, the Scottish government are key players in that. Essentially, they've basically destroyed Scotland's national identity. They've demoralized and bastardized the country. And they've destroyed the very meaning of what it means to be Scottish. So no, I don't support an independent Scotland. I would look. The Union has its problems, but I would support the Union any day over. Even though I don't think it's fit for purpose anymore, I'd support it any day over an independent Scotland. I mean, at least the Union used to represent one nation under God. I mean, let's not forget the Union, basically, as we know it today, came from the King James Bible. That's how the Union was formed, essentially, one nation under God. So at least there's some symbolism there, if you know what I mean. At least the Union used to represent something, but as far as an independent Scotland, that could never happen. No, could never happen because our government and the people who support them, the vast majority of our population are reprobate trash. So no, could never happen. In short, no, I don't care about Ireland because I'm not Irish and I don't live there. And yeah, I'm not I don't support an independent Scotland. No. Frank Warren got shot by Terry Marsh, allegedly. His own boxer. He definitely has a couple of skeletons in his closet, yeah. Technically, that was never proven. Terry Marsh was the top suspect, and he was known to have guns, and he was known to have a grievance against Frank Warren. But officially, I think they never found the weapon, so they never proved that it was Terry Marsh because the guns that they found in Terry Marsh's ownership didn't match the ammunition that was used to shoot Frank Warren. But it's generally believed that it was Terry Marsh who shot him. But Terry Marsh wasn't his only enemy, and I don't believe that Frank Warren has ever come out and grasped Terry Marsh. I don't think he's ever come out and admitted that it was him, at least not publicly. So, but yeah, allegedly it was Terry Marsh. I don't know for certain though. Lebedev knocking out Roy Jones was brutal. Oh yeah, that was brutal. Like he knocked him out on his feet, and then that clown Steve Smoger just stood there looking at him, and wouldn't wave the fight off. So Lebedev's just like, all right, well, you want me to finish the fight? I'll do it myself. Bang, and he just he just hit him again, and yeah, that was brutal, man. It really was. The narrative is that Roy respected McCallum and didn't want to KO him. Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that's why it went the distance. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whatever. Your thoughts on Tio versus Martin? Can Tio turn his career around, or is this the end for him at the top? I don't rate Tio at all. I thought he was going to lose to Martin. Obviously, that didn't happen. Martin put in a pretty disappointing performance. Didn't even come to win, in my opinion. Came to survive and spoil. So yeah, I don't rate Tio though. I didn't see anything from him in. I didn't even watch like every bit of that fight. I watched Precise's film study, and I was kind of watching it in and out, and I was just disappointed with what I saw because it looked like a typical situation of one guy just not even trying. I think Martin could have stopped Tio if he'd let his hands go. He dropped him with one of the lightest punches I've ever seen, and then just didn't follow up on it. So yeah, Tio. I mean, look, if Tio fights a guy like Regis Prograis or someone like that, I don't see him winning unless the fight is either fixed or he has some sort of crazy like improvement between now and then. Which movie in 2023 are you most looking for? I don't know. Like, I don't actually know what's coming out in 2023. Come to think of it, I might do a Google search and get back to you on that. I don't know. I've not really been following movies much lately. I've mostly been just watching old ones. Best trainer in the United Kingdom. I think the best trainer in the United Kingdom now, in my personal opinion, is probably it's probably Shane McGuigan. I know he's young and he isn't quite as experienced as some of the others, but I think McGuigan, what he did with Josh Taylor in the early days, and what he's done with some of the other guys like Groves, how he turned Groves' career around. I think he's shown to be a great trainer for his age anyway, and for his lack of experience. Nordic, have you ever drank raw milk? I have indeed, and it's lovely. We actually ordered raw milk from a farm in England. See, here in Scotland, raw milk's actually illegal. You can't actually buy it here, but you can order it from England from a farm, and that's what we did. We ordered it online. We did it a couple of times, and yeah, I really like raw milk. See, I'm not a big fan of drinking just milk on its own, like pasteurized milk, but see, raw milk, I can drink a full pint of it, and it's really nice, like really thick and creamy, and it tastes so much better, man. And it's much better for you, much more nutritional content. That's when fighting the style he did in the third fight has to clearly outland Choco in order to win rounds. Didn't sit much on his shots. Yeah, it's kind of quality or quantity over quality, isn't it? What do you think about the Liver King? I didn't know who the Liver King was until I saw all this all these videos. Like I saw Steven Crowder talking about it, I saw Precise talking about it, and I saw some other people talking about it. I didn't know who he was, but the first thing I thought of when I looked at him is the guy looked like Macho Man Randy Savage, like some big roided up wrestler. Like you're going nowhere. I got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of playtime. Like that's what came to my mind when I saw that guy, and I'm like, really, that guy? People thought that guy wasn't on steroids, really? Yeah. Kelbrook was overrated. I think he was good personally, but another waste of talent, in my opinion. Have you seen 1917 and All Quiet on the Western Front? I prefer those to Hacksaw Ridge. I saw 1917 in the cinema when it came out, and I enjoyed it. I've never seen All Quiet on the Western Front. Personally, I preferred Hacksaw Ridge to 1917, but I like both. Both were good films, but Hacksaw Ridge is my personal favorite war film. I think it was really well made, that film, well acted, well written. Have you seen the Mel Gibson film We Were Soldiers? No, I've never seen that. I've seen most of Mel Gibson's films. I haven't seen that one though. I recently saw a new Mel Gibson movie called On the Line. Would probably make a good review. It has an ending that you'll either love or hate. Interesting, interesting. I might check it out. Timzu's going to get obliterated by Charlo. Charlo's going to stop him early. I don't think he'll obliterate him. I don't think he'll obliterate him, but I do think he'll beat him. I think he'll maybe be behind on points and he'll stop him late. Speaking of Mel Gibson, I recommend Get the Gringo. I've seen that. I've seen that precise. That's a good film. Interestingly, that film you're talking about, Get the Gringo, in Britain, that film is known as what How I Spent My Summer Vacation. I've got it on DVD. That's what it's called here. How I Spent My Summer Vacation, which is a weird name for the movie. But yeah, in America, it's called Get the Gringo. It's one of them films where, for some reason, they changed the name or they changed the title for the European release. I don't know why, but yeah, that's a great film. I would recommend that. Precise. That's a good film. Where he goes to the prison with that Mexican boy. That's a good film. Fantastic. Didn't MTK shoot Jamie Moore? Uh, allegedly. AJ Wilder, who wins? I would go with AJ, but I'd give Wilder a puncher's chance, I would. But I think AJ most likely because he just brings more to the table. He's got more of a punch variety, better boxer, better balance. I just think he'd catch Wilder, and I think he'd knock him out. But I do give Wilder a puncher's chance. But I also give AJ a puncher's chance, and I give him more than a puncher's chance. Adam Smith, the absolute splendid class of Canelo Alvarez. Oh, the class. And there's the respect. Shout out to Triple B. He does the best Adam Smith interpretation or impression. He does the best impression, man. SNP is a disgrace. Yeah, they are, man. Screw the SNP. Flipping reprobates. That's what they are. Subhuman. That's what the SNP are. Subhuman. Do you hear about their new bill protecting perverts and flipping child molesters? Go look that up. Jamie was shot by Hutch OCG. He was with Daniel Kinahan. They were trying to clip him. Yeah, so he was kind of shot in the he was kind of collateral damage. He was in the crossfire when the Hutches were after Daniel Kinahan. Who what was it? Didn't Daniel Kinahan like jump out the window or something? Yeah, something like that, wasn't it? There's a lot of carryover with Dublin gangs though, so it's possible it was a gun for hire. Oh yeah, it could have been. They could have just hired anybody. It could have been some random junkie they hired to do it, which is why it was botched. Which is why Daniel Kinahan and his lot won't be seen just walking around Ireland. They're hiding in the Middle East, aren't they? In Dubai, places like that. Allegedly. Maybe Barry Hearn shot Frank Warren. Yeah. Could you imagine that? Barry Hearn is like, taking out the rival promoter. Nordic, what is your opinion on the prescription drug industry racket? Yeah, well, they're just another. To me, they're an official, glorified version of Kinahan, aren't they? Pushing poison into society to profiteer off it. That's what it is, man. I mean, doctors are so quick to get you on pills, aren't they? To get you to inject shit up your arse rather than sort out your problems. And yeah, they want us all on drugs. They want us all medicated. They want us all jabbed, essentially. Well, they ain't gonna get me, tell you that. The idea of an independent island being promoted by EU to punish British for Brexit, yeah. Although the Conservatives seem to have walked away from the six countries, there's no such thing as a Conservative in the West anymore. Right? I'm kind of I'm kind of black pilled when it comes to politics now. Like, I don't think there's any even point engaging in it. I could be wrong, but I see it as it's kind of, I'm kind of like one of those people who's waiting for the apocalypse to come to just save us all from this. You know, there's nothing I can do, man. But God forgive us all. Joe, lose the first 9 rounds. Gallagher is the best trainer in the UK. Yeah. Yeah, just lose the first 9 rounds. Try and win the last four and hope you get the decision. A great game plan. Ben Davison. Oh, yeah. Ben Davison, the most proven trainer in the UK. Well, he did all right with flipping Taylor for a while, didn't he? And he did all right with Lee Wood. But yeah, you get the sense that was kind of in spite of him, don't you? Thoughts on Rivera versus Frank Martin? Did you watch it? I didn't watch it. I didn't even know who this Frank Martin guy was until very recently. But apparently, he's a new one of them Kangs in the lightweight division. You know, he's one of the Kangs, one of the four Kangs who haven't done nothing and didn't do nothing and will never do nothing. You know, that's all I've heard. I don't know, man. Another one of the Kangs, isn't he? Stick him in with Tank and Ryan Garcia, one of those guys, and we'll see what happens. Then I'll talk about him, you know. Until then, I got nothing to say. I didn't watch it. What's the difference between raw and pasteurized milk? Well, obviously, like with pasteurized milk, they try and get rid of the bacteria and all the stuff that's just in it naturally, whereas raw milk, they don't put it through the pasteurization process. You know, it's just kind of how it is when it comes out of the cow. And yeah, they bottle it up and send it. But you can't buy it directly in this country. You have to buy it online from somewhere else, like a farm in England, and get them to send it to you. And that's what we've done a couple times. You would like All Quiet on the Western Front, World War One, from young German soldiers' perspective, brutal and tragic movie. Yeah, that sounds interesting. It's very rare you see it from sort of the German perspective. You always get it from, you know, the quote unquote good guys. But you know, it's interesting to me how the good guys never win wars, is it? Or the bad guys never win wars, only the good guys, you know, because history is written by the victors. I'm battling for some health issues. Found out I have a farm near me, 10 minutes away, with old school Holstein cows, grass fed. What's your opinion on disease fear mongering's getting to me? That's the thing. Look, I've been told for years and years that you shouldn't eat raw meat, for example, or you shouldn't drink raw milk because it'll kill you. Well, I'm still alive. I've drank raw milk. I've eaten raw liver. I do it from time to time, and yeah, I'm still here. So that's that up the wall, isn't it? You know, they'll tell us that meat causes heart attacks, this, that, and the other, but they don't really give you the full story, do they? They don't tell you about how most meat is factory farmed, how most of it comes with bread and all sorts of other crap. You know, packaged food with plastics and all the hormones they put in them, and that they don't talk about all that stuff. They just kind of demonize meat. I don't think there's anything wrong with meat per se. I really don't. Yeah, Merry Christmas, man. God bless you, PJ. God bless you. Regarding raw milk, yeah, well, raw milk has never done me any harm. Any of the times I've ever had it, it's never done me harm. I'm not saying that, like, I don't give health advice. I'm not a doctor, but it doesn't. The stuff I've heard that it's supposed to do to you, the negative effects, hasn't happened to me. You know, I've eaten raw meat, raw liver, raw fish, and it's never given me any of the same problems that what do you call it? It's never given me any of the same problems that they claim that mainstream science says that they'll give you. Thoughts on the drama around Inoue versus Fulton? WBO promoted Inoue to super status, making him mandatory to Fulton when he moves to 122. Fulton moving to 126 to rematch Figueroa. Well, Fulton Figueroa was a great fight. A lot of people liked it, and a lot of people were split on who they thought won. So that's a good fight. But the Inoue fight is an interesting one too. I would definitely like to see that. But where would that fight take place? I mean, there'd have to be a negotiation there. Would it be in Japan? Would it be in America? What would the political situation for that fight be like? Because both of those guys have a lot of backing and a lot of political support. So we'll see. I don't know, but it's a great fight. I'd probably favour Inoue, but we'll see what happens. Best Scorsese movie. I liked Raging Bull. I liked what was the other one? What was the other one in my head? Didn't Goodfellas? That's the one I liked too. And I also, to an extent, I liked that movie Silence, but I, again, I didn't particularly like the ending of that movie. But it was an entertaining movie. But yeah, Goodfellas and Raging Bull are great movies. I miss Adam Smith's unbiased commentary. Yeah. The bomber tattoo on his back. That was a classic, that one, man. And there's the respect. Yeah, shout out to Triple B again. I gotta go with Wolf of Wall Street and Casino. Do you know Wolf of Wall Street? I watched, I think it was the first 5 minutes of that, and I turned it off. I can't exactly remember what it was that put me off that film. I think it was just in the first 5 minutes. It was just constant people talking crap and snorting coke and all that. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, I watched that. I'm like, this seems like it's going to be like really boring. So I turned it off. But I've never seen the whole film. I don't know. A lot of people like it. Casino, I don't think I've ever seen that either. Yeah, Triple B is fantastic. He cracks me up, man. He's a funny guy, and he does great impressions. All important elections are predetermined, no doubt about it, man. No doubt. I mean, come on. You think 80 million people voted for that creepy, kiddie fiddling, senile old prick Biden? I don't think so, man. What happened to Lee McGregor? Haven't heard about him in a while. Me neither. I haven't heard about him either. I don't know what he's doing. I don't even know when the last time he fought was. I kind of just forgot all about him, to be honest. It's the first time I've thought about him since he had that draw. I think quite a while. I agree on politics, Nordic. It's pantomime to keep people divided. Yeah. What is it that they call it? It's bread and circus for the masses, isn't it? It's like a big theater show to yeah, like a big pantomime. That's exactly what it is. A big pantomime to just distract people and take their minds off the real issues. It's exactly the same thing that a lot of sports are. Like the World Cup, what was that all about? That was just like woke imperialism. That's all that was. A bunch of fixed football games where they were just there to promote sodomy to the Middle East. That's all that was, man. That's all it was. Yeah, I've got no interest in it. Lee McGregor drew to that Argentinian guy. Yeah, he did. He drew to the Argentinian guy, and it's as if his momentum has just completely gone from his career. I doubt he'll go that far, to be honest. I pity people who are in their 30s or 40s who still believe that their vote will actually make a difference. Do they actually believe in the system, or is it just cognitive dissonance? I think what it is, like a lot of people from that generation who are sort of one generation ahead of us, they kind of grew up before this whole social media boom and before this age of information. So as far as they're concerned, it's kind of ingrained in their psyche that the TV is the authority on news, if you know what I mean. Like, if it's on TV, then it must be real. If the government says it, then it must be real. They don't have the kind of thirst for knowledge that some of us on here have, where we can go online, we can look at alternative sources, alternative information, and try and get different perspectives on things. Like a lot of people who are older than us, they just seem to be stuck in. I don't even want to use these stupid terms like the Matrix and blue pilled and red pilled and whatnot, but they seem to be stuck in that mindset where it's on the TV. That'll tell us everything we need to know. The prime minister is gonna make all the decisions. They don't really understand about cabals and secret societies and controlled opposition, agent provocateurs, and political misinformation and things like Operation Mockingbird and stuff like that. They don't understand all this stuff, and they don't understand how not everything that you see should be taken at face value. Just because, like, say somebody gets elected, like Boris or Donald Trump, and supposedly they're a conservative, they kind of forget everything that they know about these people. I mean, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but a good example is if you look at this whole Elon Musk situation, right? Elon Musk announced that he was going to buy Twitter, right? And that he was going to be trying to promote free speech. Now, because he used the word free speech, everybody just forgot everything they knew about Elon Musk. They forgot that just 2 weeks prior to that, he was this techno messiah, right? He was the guy who was going to end climate change. He was going to introduce like all these Teslas, like flying cars and whatnot. He was going to make Star Trek a reality. He was going to save the planet. He was going to destroy religion. He was going to destroy white males and all this. He was this techno messiah. Then all of a sudden, because he used the word free speech, everybody just forgot and said, "Oh, he's a white male, conservative, bigot, this, that, and the other, and we hate him. We always hated him." People have such short memories that they don't understand the very concept of propaganda and misinformation and stuff like that. They're stuck in that system, like you say, where oh, I'm going to vote for this next politician to come in and save me and solve all my problems for me and all that. I don't know, man. Like the world, like I said, I'm black pilled at this point. I really am. Like when it comes to stuff like that. I drink raw eggs on a regular basis. I'm still here. People fearmonger. Yeah, man. I'm surprised your head hasn't exploded. Rocky ate raw eggs, and he was able to go on to go the distance, wasn't he? I like eggs, man. Eggs are nice. I believe in terrain theory over germ theory, although I accept that I will never know or be able to prove it. Yeah, absolutely. Like none of us on here have the kind of resources or the kind of clout to ever be able to prove something like that. Like we can't prove the things that we believe and disprove these theories because we just don't have the resources to do it. Raw milk tastes good. It certainly does, man. Tastes beautiful. I like it a lot. I really do like it a lot. No calf ever got sick from drinking raw milk. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. When you were born and when your mother breastfed you, you didn't die, did you? You didn't die from getting breastfed. So yeah, neither does any animal. Something's got to give, guys. Something's got to give because it doesn't make sense, does it? Ultimately, the whole system is money and control motivated. I think at this point, a lot of decisions at the top is control motivated. Yeah, again, that's what the scamdemic was all about. Keeping us all under control. Keeping us all scared, keep us breathing in our CO2, which gives us brain damage. Having us. Let me not even go there. Keep turning us all into NPCs. And it worked. Most people got the jab up their arse. And gave themselves brain damage by not being able to breathe. Best Kubrick movie, Hitchcock. I haven't seen many Kubrick movies, but Hitchcock. I remember we watched Psycho in school, and I actually kind of enjoyed it. I know it's quite corny looking back, but I enjoyed it, man. But yeah, I've not seen many of their movies, to be honest. All right, thanks, Nordic. I know a couple of people who drink it, raw milk, carnival, etc. I'll just give it a go. Yeah, give it a go. I mean, look, let me make a disclaimer here. I don't give medical advice. Okay, I'm not one of these people who's one of these like health and diet channels who's like, this is what you should eat. Give me money. No. So you do whatever you want, and if you want to try it, you try it. But I would recommend, from my personal experience, that you try it because it's tasty, and I think it's good for you. It's why we love the sport, isn't it, Johnny? Fulton Gate flopped for the Danny Roman fight. The fight should happen at this point. Yeah, it should happen. Thoughts on Prograis versus Zepeda? Yeah, good fight, man. Good fight. Zepeda had his moments, but Prograis was able to walk him down and stop him. He was he just brought more to the table, didn't he? Bigger puncher, quicker, just a little bit closer to his prime. He was just a better fighter, man. Prograis is improving. Prograis is getting better, I think. So-called conservatives conserve nothing. I'll tell you what they conserve. They conserve the laws and the worldview of the left. That's what they conserve. The left implement the things that they want. The progressives and the conservatives they uphold that, don't they? But yeah, I know what you mean. They're not really conservatives. There's no such thing as a conservative in the West anymore. I mean, was there ever? I don't know, man. But there's no such thing as it now. At least not politically. If you look people who drink raw milk up on YouTube, you'll get results of people on dialysis. That's what messing with my mind, but screams obvious fear mongering. Yeah, because again, you don't know if that's true or not. You don't know whether it's some sort of propaganda or whether it is. I'm not saying it's not real, but I'm skeptical about it. Check out Margin Call, fantastic film on the 2008 financial crisis. Jeremy Irons, Kevin Spacey, top notch. Yeah, definitely. I will check it out at some point. On the other hand, I've dove deep, and Rockefeller forced his whole family to consume raw milk. Abby Rockefeller, granddaughter on YouTube, who's a farmer, talks about it. Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. Like the elite, like the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and all these flipping multi-billion-dollar flipping baby eating psychos. You know, these guys, they're the types of people who tell us not to eat meat and to eat mealworms and stuff like that, and to go vegan, while they themselves eat their Aberdeen Angus steak and and eat them raw and stuff like that. I mean, it's like that. You know, we had the COP26 meeting, the climate meeting in Glasgow, and there was another one this year, and all that was celebrities and politicians flying in with their private jets, using who knows how much fuel, you know, all their big motorcades holding up traffic, so that they could fly in, have their lavish dinners, you know, their steak dinners, and living it up, living the good life. Then they could come on TV and tell us we're not allowed to go on holiday and have our yearly flight. We're not allowed to use a car to go to work. You know, we have to eat grass and we have to eat mealworms because we're killing the planet. I mean, does nobody see a problem with that? I certainly do. Thoughts on Crawford versus Avanesian Glovegate? It was a dodgy situation, man, because his gloves just split open. Like, I've never seen that happen before. A guy's gloves just literally split open during a fight. And there definitely should be an investigation into it. And if there's not, then that's a travesty, because someone's got to give, man. Why did his gloves just blow up? And if his gloves were, if they were defective gloves, then shouldn't they be shown and presented in court? I mean, shouldn't they? I would have thought so. But I think it will get swept up, and we probably won't hear much about it again from the media. Yeah, God bless you too, Triple B, man. God bless you. Yep, yep. Two of them have two of you guys have recommended that movie. Need to check it out. Elon Musk wore a satanic costume on Halloween. Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people do, don't they? That's what Halloween's all about, isn't it? Which I don't celebrate Halloween, by the way. God bless you, Triple B. You have a big heart, man of principle. Wishing you the happiest of Christmas. Yeah, absolutely, man. Shout out to Triple B. You know, I got a lot of time for Triple B. He's a good man, and same to you. God bless. What do you think about Joe Rogan, Matt Walsh, and Jordan Peterson? I don't like Joe Rogan. I never have. I think he's a clown. He just annoys me. I've got nothing to say about him. I just can't stand watching him. He's an idiot. Matt Walsh. I like Matt Walsh's content. I think his content is excellent. And same with Jordan Peterson. The problem is I just don't trust them because they're connected with Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, which I know. And if you guys want to see what they're all about, check out Mark Dice's videos that he's made about the Daily Wire and about Ben Shapiro. Basically, they have connections to the likes of Mark Zuckerberg and that woman who runs YouTube. And I strongly suspect that they are controlled opposition. Put it that way. I strongly suspect that there's some sort of ulterior motive for what they're doing. So that makes me wary about people like Matt Walsh and Jordan Peterson, who I do watch and I do enjoy their content, but I'm just very, very skeptical about anybody who's involved with these organizations, you know. People are still getting banned too. Bryson Gray was suspended for Elton John calling Elton John gay, which he literally is. Do you know what's funny about that? Did you see that clip where Joe Biden was talking to Elton John? And I pissed myself when I saw it. Like, go look it up. Joe Biden said to Elton John, he pointed him out and he says, he's standing right next to him and he says, "This guy is the reason everybody has AIDS." And Elton John's face was tripping him, man. It was like one of them like senior moments. Like Joe Biden because he's going senile. He just lost it for a moment, and he said what he really thought. And it reminded me of when he said, "We're going to commit the biggest voter fraud in history." You remember that? He actually said that. Joe Biden did, and it's like every now and then. I don't know whether it's an act or not, but every now and then he has like these senile moments where he just says what he really thinks. And yeah, he said that Elton John, right there to his face. He said this guy is responsible for AIDS. I thought that was so funny, man. So funny. Ben Shapiro's a scumbag who works for, like I said, he's connected with the flipping big tech giants. He works for them. And Andrew Tate, I just I got nothing to say about Andrew Tate. He's just a complete obvious plant, obvious controlled opposition shill. Controlled opposition. That's all I got to say. Came out of nowhere, was pushed by the algorithm to push certain agendas. Is on every bloody talk show, every flipping podcast, and yeah, there's a reason why he's being pushed out there. I don't trust him one bit. Elon Musk wants to put a chip in your brain. First time I got restricted on Twitter was after he bought it. Savior. Yeah, well, there you go. He's here to he's the savior of free speech. He's this proper right wing conservative like messiah. He's now our messiah. He went from being their savior to our savior in overnight. It just goes to show you how easily manipulated people are. And how quickly they forget, like how quickly they forget what they previously knew. Musk is a joke. He certainly is. Psycho is fantastic, excellent pick. Nothing corny about it. Respect. Yeah, I enjoyed that movie. I like because we watched it in school because we studied it. I think it was in my English class or something. Or was it media studies? I think it was English. We watched it because we watched like quite a few films because we read certain books and they would often, if you read books, they would have you watch the film and whatnot. And for some reason, we watched Psycho. I can't even remember why. I just remember we watched it in school. Yeah, it is a fun movie. I enjoyed it, and it's an accurate representation of the trans community. That's what's great about it. Psycho is a masterpiece. Yeah, it is absolutely Alfred Hitchcock masterpiece. Makabu or No Gavor. Do you know what? I give No Gavor a very good chance of winning that fight because Makabu is a bit past his prime. If it happened a couple years ago, I would have picked Makabu probably by late knockout because I think he would have broke him down and maybe stopped him late. But I think Makabu to me has slowed down big time and he hasn't looked good in a while. So I think No Gavor could win that if they fight. The candidates are all picking the same people before we ever get to vote. Yeah, these are the people you're allowed to vote for. These are the political contingents that we personally allow you peasants, you slaves, to vote for. And yeah, whichever one of our employees you choose can be your master. That's voting, isn't it? Assuming it's even real. I'm still waiting to keel over from a heart attack. I don't think I've had a meal that didn't include meat in the last 20 years. Yeah. I mean, you're in pretty good shape, Del Boy, and yeah, you eat a lot of meat, like you've been saying. And I'm exactly the same. Look, I eat, like I said, I've eaten raw meat, I've eaten liver, raw steak, raw fish. Um, I eat meat all the time. I'm still alive. I drank raw meat. Sorry, I've drank raw milk on occasion. And I didn't get the jab. I didn't wear the mask. I don't sanitize my hands. I don't social distance, and I'm still alive somehow. Maybe I'm just a miracle of nature. Who knows? Conservatives conserve the changes. Progressives initiate. Look at Bruce Jenner, a conservative. Yeah. Bruce Jenner is just the absolute ultimate example of a true far right, family friendly, alt right conservative Christian hero. That man in a dress. Yeah, he's definitely who we want representing us. That's exactly what we want. A flipping guy in a dress. Looking at the West now, you could argue the Soviet Union won the Cold War. Not physically, of course, but ideological subversion has proven to be very real. Shout out Yuri Bezmenov. Yeah, Yuri Bezmenov. His videos let's just say they predicted a lot of stuff, didn't they? It's hard to really argue the things he said. Elon Musk met with Epstein's accomplice Maxwell and Barry Hearn in Epstein's phone book. Oh, yeah, yeah, probably did. Him and Prince Andrew wouldn't surprise me one bit. Good night, Triple B. God bless you, man. God bless. You should look at in Farad. He's a left wing, but not a cook. You'd like him. I don't know, man. If he's a left wing, would I like him? Really, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe he's all right. We'll see. Infrared. Sorry. It's late. Should we fans care anymore about Haney versus Loma? Quite odd, we haven't heard anything about it yet. Both sides are silent. And yeah, Precise was talking about that earlier. That Haney, who was talking mad shit about Loma up until very recently, now has a chance to negotiate, and he's all of a sudden gone quiet. It's a bit convenient, isn't it, man? It's a bit convenient. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Yeah, it was funny, man. You should check it out, that video. Yep. Good night, Triple B. God bless. Yep. Merry Christmas to you too, Alex. Great to see you here, bro. God bless. Do you see Chris Billum Smith beating Opataya? I think he could beat him, Like Opataya, I think I would favour him, but the thing is, I think he caught Briadis on a bad night. I think Briadis could have won that fight. It's just he underestimated the guy. He was fighting on the road. He didn't really respect him as a challenge. Fought like a dummy. Fought like an idiot, and didn't have a good night. But I think he could win a rematch. And Chris Billum Smith could potentially win that. Like he's a good prospect. I think he's a bit better than advertised, but we'll see. I wouldn't favour him, but we'll see what happens. It's a good fight, man. Interesting. And I'd be interested in it. Boxer trying to get money out of Parker, fighting poor fighters like Jack Massey, just putting big names with known fighters. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. I don't even know much about Jack Massey, to be honest. I don't think, have I even seen him fight? I don't know, man. We'll see. But yeah, Parker's pretty much done, I think. I don't believe Haney is Muslim. His social media is full of haram. It's just a convenient way to duck certain fights. Yeah, yeah. It's that seems again. Precise talked about this. That seems like it's just a trend. A lot of these fighters do it. They say that they're Muslim for whatever reason, and again they use it as an excuse. Say I can't fight then because I'm fasting or whatever. Well, he does a lot of things that contradict, and he says a lot of things, don't he, that contradicts the idea that he's a Muslim. So yeah, I don't buy it at all. I mean, do you think that guy goes to the mosque and flipping gets down on his knees and does all those rituals and whatnot? Maybe, but I doubt it. I really doubt it. If I'm the only one who thinks Boxer is shite for the most part, are you? I don't know. It probably is shite. Do you think Warrington did enough to beat Lopez? No, I don't think he did enough, but I think he could have won it. He started too late. He was trying to box at times. He was trying to brawl, stand toe to toe with the guy. Whereas what he should have been doing was keeping the tight guard and fighting similarly to how he fought against Frampton. Applying steady pressure, catching the shots and countering, and throwing hooks and uppercuts inside and getting out of there, but maintaining his balance and his fundamentals. And I think he could have won that fight. We saw in the later rounds of that fight what he could have done if he'd have been a bit more tactful early on. And I think in a rematch, I favour him. I think he could win it. You had Briadis Opatea 6-6. Yeah, it was a close fight, man. It really was. Haney is no real Muslim the way he acts, flashing money. Yeah, yeah. It's just yeah, like he was saying, it's just a trend. He's not a Muslim, man. That's a lot of nonsense. I mean, Lomachenko, on the other hand, he identifies as a Christian, and I think he is genuine. I think him and Usyk are genuine believers. But what I've seen from Devin Haney claiming he's what he is, I don't think that's even true. I don't think he shows any sincerity there. Yeah, yeah. I've never seen Massey fight. Don't even know who he is. Come to think of it. I thought Warrington did enough to beat Lopez. Some people did. From what I saw, Warrington just started too late, man, and he made too many mistakes early. I think he will need to be a bit more tactful to win a rematch if it happens. And a Lee Wood fight would be a great fight. Haney being a fake Muslim brings fans from the Muslim community because he's boring and annoying. Yeah. And if I was a fan from the Muslim community, I wouldn't want him. I say, can we have Loma instead? Why would you want to be a fan of Haney? He's a boring loser, man. He's just pointless, man. I'm not interested in him. Unless he fights Loma, I'm not interested. Briedis Opetaia was a good fight. Honestly, would like to see a rematch. Yeah, and I would favour Briedis in a rematch as long as he's like injury free and he takes the fight seriously. You know, because I could see him genuinely winning the rematch. He's the better fighter, I think. I think Opetaia just caught Briedis on a bad night. He was too busy calling out Jake Paul, getting tattoos, and talking rubbish instead of actually preparing for the fight. You know, I don't think he did enough. But if he did gift him, people would, yeah, people would have. If they did gift him it, people would have forgotten by now. I agree. If he'd have gotten that decision, the Leeds fans would have been happy. The media would have been happy. A few people would have complained, but the media would have been like, you know what, it was a close fight. Could have gone either way. Who cares? And they would have forgotten about it in days, and we would be talking about Warrington taking on Lee Wood, Michael Conlan, guys like that. We would have moved on from it pretty quickly, I think. I don't think anyone would have called the police, you know. Glovatsky going to lie down for Reactpor on the Eubank Smith undercard. Look, it wouldn't surprise me. Any fighter laying down for an A side who's fighting at home would not surprise me in any fight. I'm past just assuming that every fight is real at this point. Because to be perfectly honest, Glovatsky was that Lawrence Okolie fight a real fight? Was it? I mean, look at it very carefully. Did Glovatsky come to win that night? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. So yeah, wouldn't surprise me one bit, bro. It certainly would not, because I could totally see it. Breedish surely wins by KO after smashing his jaw into three pieces first time. Although to be fair, Opetaia showed he was tough. I mean, getting your jaw broken in three pieces, and being able to make it the distance while taking punches like that from Briedis. Guy's got a great chin and a lot of heart, but can he summon up a performance like that in a rematch? You know, some fighters only have one great performance in them, and he could be one of them. You know, so I would favour Briedis in the rematch. I'm off to bed. Good night, Nordic. Take care. Yeah, you too, bro. God bless you. God bless you. Thanks for stopping by. God bless. Lee Wood is a bit limited. I think Warrington schools him. I agree. Warrington at his prime versus Lee Wood at his prime, I favour Warrington. Absolutely. No doubt about it. But Lee Wood can punch. He's got a lot of heart. And Warrington hasn't looked great in his past few fights. So that's going to be a very interesting fight if it happens. But I favour Warrington, assuming he takes it seriously and fights like the old Warrington. He should win a wide decision, I think. Can't see him stopping Lee Wood, but I think he can win a wide decision. Glovatsky has totally lost his ambition. Yeah, it's as if ever since that Briedis fight, Glovatsky just hasn't been interested. You know, where he got knocked out in that fight, and it seems as if he's just going through the motions and just cashing out at this point. Reactpor, another bum weight bully. Yeah. Again, he's another one of them guys. Wake me up when he fights somebody. Wake me up when he fights somebody serious, you know, who's his size and can fight back. Yeah, Opetaia's tough. All of these Samoan heritage fighters seem to take a shot very well. Yeah, all these guys are these Maori guys, these Samoans. They're always tough. You know, they've all got that David Tua vibe about them, aren't they? You know, they're usually big guys. They're usually strong, usually tough, good chins, can punch, and they're always dangerous. And I definitely think, I mean, you can put Joseph Parker in that category too. These guys are always dangerous, and I think Briedis is going to have to be a bit more tactful to beat him in the rematch, but I think he can do it. I'm off to bed, Nordic. God bless everyone. Christ is King. Yeah, God bless you. Amen to that, Reese. God bless you. Have a good one, man. And Merry Christmas. God bless. Given Eddie Hearn has one British world champ left, we probably won't get Wood versus Lara and Wood versus Kiko instead. Wouldn't mind Warrington moving up. Yeah, because Warrington did look a little bit drained in his last fight. He did look a little bit thin at the weight, so wouldn't surprise me if he moved up, to be honest. And I would like to see it. I would like to see him how he is in the super featherweight division because again, there's some good fights up there, and maybe he'd have more energy and he'd be a bit more durable. He'd be able to take shots better. It'll be interesting. I'd rather live in the Grey Quarter than anywhere in London. Do you know what? You'd probably be safer in the Grey Quarter of Windhelm with all them greyskins than you'd be in London. I'm not even kidding, bro. Like, I'm not even joking about that. The Grey Quarter is safer. Plant or Benavides? Benavides by late knockout. Plant, he's quick, he's athletic, but he doesn't have a great chin. He cuts way too easy. Benavides is too big, too strong, too powerful, too fast, and too naturally athletic. I think he stops him late. Remember when Breedis knocked out Gigachaw? I do, with that half hook, half uppercut, where he just dived in and slept him. That was one of the most brutal and most clinical knockouts you'll ever see. And Usyk was able to take his punches, showing his great chin. Gigachaw wasn't knocked out. He was just sleeping. Yeah, he just took a nap in the ring. He was like, you know what? This fight's too easy. I don't care. I'm just going to lie down in the ring and take a nap, because he's Gigachaw. What Gigachaw was doing is he just decided to hit his face against the mat to just give Briedis a chance, because no one stands a chance against Gigachaw. Team Gigachaw. I think Wood stops Lara, to be honest. I don't see him stopping him. I think he wins on points. He could stop him because he's got power, but Lara's pretty tough and hits pretty hard himself. So I think Wood's going to have to be cautious and tactful in that fight, and I think he wins it on points. Jazza Dickens still owns Lee Wood, though. Yeah. I mean, losing to Jazza Dickens and going on to do what he did, becoming world champion, is pretty impressive, and beating Conlon and whatnot, and Kanzu. It's interesting that Jazza Dickens actually was a pretty decent domestic level fighter at one point. Like, I remember when he dropped Kid Galahad, and that was a great fight. It's just that he obviously, whenever he stepped up in class to sort of semi-world level, he always tended to lose, like the Rigondeaux fight, That was a bit of a pitiful effort there. He just quit on his stool against Rigondeaux. I know he apparently had a broken jaw, but it's not like he was getting beaten up or schooled or anything like that. I actually had him winning one of the rounds because Rigo wasn't throwing any punches. And he was just kind of looking for one shot. And Jazza Dickens just quit for seemingly no reason. I haven't watched a PBC fight in months. Terrible commentary, fake stats, and fixed matches every main event. Yeah, the most obvious one was that jab to the elbow, which had the guy flipping, rolling around on the floor, like flipping, shaking, like he'd just been shot in the gut or something. Yeah, I'm not a fan of PBC either. Riften is more safe than London. Yeah, it certainly is, man. Even with the Thieves Guild below your feet and flipping the Dark Brotherhood trying to slit your throat, it's still safer than living in London nowadays. Jazza is a legit IBO world champion. He needs to unify. Yeah, why not? Let's have a Jazza Dickens rematch against Wood. Why not? Let's see that fight. I'd watch it. Or I'd be interested in it at least. Rigo broke his jaw, man. Yeah, Loma doesn't want to fight Rigo. He's ducking because Rigo breaks jaws. He breaks jaws, man. He ducking, man. He ducking. Everybody ducking Rigo, man. They ducking, man. They ducking because he breaks jaws. Protective bum champions as cancer. Yeah. Screw the PBC, man. They're a joke. God bless Bruce Goes, man. Good to see you here, man. Bruce goes boxing. Absolutely, every time. God bless you. Yep, peace to you too, bro. God bless. Hello, Roy. Good to see you here, man. God bless you. Is AJ finished? I don't think so. I think AJ will have another couple of fights. I think he'll fight. Maybe I could see a Dillian White rematch. I could see maybe a Chisora fight. I could see him clearing up a couple of his potential domestic rivals, but I can't see him being world champion again because I just don't think he has the motivation to go and rebuild, if you know what I mean, start from the ground and work his way up again. I think AJ is at a point where he's made too much money, had too much success, and there's just not really much of an incentive for him to work that hard anymore. So I can't see him, and like you've just said, I can't see him building up. But like you've just said, a Ruiz trilogy that would make perfect sense for AJ. That would be a great fight for him to take. Jamal Charlo last fight June 2021, 18 months ago, and he's apparently injured. PBC fighters always seem to keep their titles. Yeah, well, judging by the rules, I'm pretty sure he should have been stripped by now. I mean, how is he still holding a title after 18 months out of the ring? That's ridiculous. Has that ever happened before? I don't know. It might have, but it's definitely not the norm. Like there's definitely got to be some favoritism going on there. Probably just Al Heyman having the sanctioning bodies in his pocket. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. It's surprising Frampton didn't want the Rigo fight. He could have won that one. I agree. I think Frampton could have won it. I think the concern was that it would be bad for his market value. Like the optics of it would have been bad. Just a bad look because Rigo would have ran, would have spoiled all night, would have refused to engage. And Frampton would have probably won on points, but he would have probably gotten a lot of criticism for the performance. And the criticism would have been due to not knocking Rigo out while he was running all night, and I think Frampton had bigger fights in mind, like the Quigg fight, the Leo Santa Cruz fights. They were all bigger fights. Those guys were all bigger names and bigger draws. So I don't blame Frampton for not taking that Rigo fight. I think that Frampton was doing a really good job building his brand. He had a big following in Ireland, and he had no reason to jeopardize that by fighting a guy who was just going to stink the joint out. Stink the joint out, not even try. Which is what Rigo would have done. Rigo would have felt the power early in that fight, and he would have ran all night and spoiled and lost on points. That's what I think would have happened, because if he'd have engaged, probably would have gotten knocked out. Wouldn't surprise me, man. I even said at the time, I thought that Santa Cruz would have beaten Rigo. I think he was a better fighter than him. So I don't see it as a duck. I see it as him not putting his career on the line, essentially. Ruiz versus AJ, who wins trilogy? AJ. And the reason I say that is because he'll just stay on the back foot like he did in Saudi Arabia, and he'll just win from the outside, scoring points. And Ruiz has got very slow feet, practically no head movement, but he's a guy who's dangerous inside because he's got fast hands, he can punch a bit, but AJ will just outpoint him. I think it would be a repeat of the second fight in Saudi Arabia. It will be a repeat of the running away, pot shotting, and scoring points from distance. Can Canelo beat Bivol? No, not in a real fight. The only way he can win that is Bivol takes a dive. And Bivol took it easy on him the first time and went on points. But in the rematch, if Bivol just fights like a dummy, like an idiot, and just stands in front of him and does nothing and drops his hands, maybe we'll see Canelo throw one of them wide swinging, looping right hands, and Bivol will just slump down on the ropes and like a sack of spuds, and it'll be another tremendous knockout victory for the great Canelo. We'll see. Personally, I don't think the fight happens. Personally, the first fight was just too obvious. It would make it too obvious. Frampton deserves praise for ducking Rigobor. Yeah, absolutely. Like I was just saying, Frampton, he was putting his own career on the line by even considering fighting Rigo. Because like I said, it would have been a garbage fight. Rigo would have ran. It would have been shit to watch. It would have been a shit spectacle, and it would have just made Frampton look bad. Rigo would have made him look bad. So instead, Frampton took fights that genuinely meant something. You know, he went for the Santa Cruz and Quigg fights, which there was more demand for. There was just less of a loud minority calling for those fights, but those fights were in more demand because those guys were big names. Quigg was, of course, a domestic rival, and Santa Cruz was one of the other champions and a guy who had a big following. So those fights made a lot of sense, and I'm glad he took those fights instead. You know, I think Wilder KOs AJ. I give him a puncher's chance, but I think AJ could also knock him out. And I would favour AJ because I think he brings more attributes to the table, and I think he has more boxing skills and he's more intelligent. I think. I agreed that fight would have been would have been a stinker. Rigo is a real sportsman. Isn't a real sportsman. He was utterly terrible to watch. Yeah, it would have been a stinker. Rigo would. I'll tell you exactly what would have happened. Frampton would have landed something in the first round. Rigo would have felt the power. He would have realised right away, I can't legitimately compete with this guy. He would have ran for the rest of the fight. It would have been a 12-round bore fest. Rigo jump into the floor, duck him below the waist, grab him behind the head, hitting on the break, hitting after the bell. He would have just made the fight so boring, and Frampton would have won it on points, clearly. And he would have gotten a lot of criticism for it. It would have been the same situation as what we saw in the Casimiro fight, where Casimiro's trying to fight and Rigo's doing nothing all night. That would have been the situation. And Casimiro won, but he didn't get much credit for it. And the reason why is because the fight wasn't entertaining, you know. Canelo Power is very overrated. Yeah, I mean he couldn't even hurt Miguel Cotto, but he can knock out light heavyweights, you know. It's ridiculous, man. He couldn't hurt he couldn't hurt Shane Mosley, but he can hurt Sergey Kovalev and he can hurt Caleb Plant and guys like that. It doesn't make sense, man. It's ridiculous. It's just fixed fights. Remember when they thought Canelo would beat Usyk? Yeah. The Canelitas were literally saying this guy can move up to heavyweight and beat Usyk. That's because it got so ridiculous. Like these fixed fights with Canelo got so ridiculous. He was just walking through these big guys, and it became pretty clear that yeah, there's something dodgy going on with his fights. So they vision a way that he could possibly lose. So they were saying he could beat Usyk, he could beat Tyson Fury, and yeah, I mean they needed a real reality check, and that's exactly what they got with that Bivol fight. It gave the Canelo fans a reality check. Frampton may have gotten schooled, but he'd have recovered. He'd have recovered like Donaire. I don't think he would have gotten schooled. Like Donaire's performance against Rigondeaux was very, very misinformed as far as I'm concerned. Like Donaire, in the build up to that fight, had been fighting like a Mexican brawler, you know, training with Garcia, and just standing in front of guys trying to knock him out. And that's how he fought against Rigo, just swinging the left hook, no feints, no technique. It was a poor performance, but Rigo really showed up that night, and that was probably Rigo's best performance of his entire career. But that night that we saw Rigo against Donaire, to me, he got Donaire at the right time, as far as I'm concerned. Whereas on another night, I don't think he would have won it. But I mean, Donaire caught up to him late and dropped him, but it was just too late. He was too far behind. But if it had been Frampton, in my opinion, when he was being trained by Shane McGuigan, and he was being a bit more tactful, I think he would have been lingering on the outside, you know, probing with the left hand, using feints, and I think he would be fighting in bursts, you know, that kind of ambush style. And I think he would have known when to attack, when to retreat, when to cut off the ring, when to jab, when to feint. And I think he would have known how to score points against Rigo. Like he would have been a lot more intelligent with his approach that Donaire was. And I think he would have won it. I think he would have won it by a decision. Would have been close because there wouldn't have been that many punches landed, but it would be Frampton doing all the work and putting in all the effort for the most part. That's how I see it anyway. He couldn't hurt Matthew Hatton, but he can knock Kovalev's spark out, yeah. Says it all, doesn't it, man? It really does. I'd love to see Wilder versus Canelo. I'd love to see that fight. Why can't they make that fight? I'd like to see Andre Ward come out of retirement and fight Wilder or Canelo. Like, I'd love to see these like Western hype jobs fight each other, but rarely do they. Rank the top five heavyweights. You mean right now? So we've got Usyk and Fury. It's debatable who's number one. I'll just say Usyk for talking sake. Usyk, Fury, then maybe Joyce, AJ, and maybe Ruiz after that. Like you could say Wilder, but I don't rate him, so maybe Ruiz. But what Ruiz has looked terrible in his recent fight, so you could argue Wilder, But those are the top five. Wonder why Rigo never fought Kiko Martinez. I don't think either of them wanted the fight. I remember there was talks of that fight, but I don't think there was ever any negotiation. But it would have made sense. I think Martinez would have. He would have given him a good fight, but I don't think he would have beaten Rigo. I think he would have lost on points. But yeah, I don't think there would have ever been. I don't think there was ever any negotiation for that fight. But it would have been an interesting fight. I root for Kiko Martinez. Didn't want that power. So easy to believe he wouldn't fight Frampton. Yeah, probably. I think Frampton would have won it. Maybe Rigo should rematch Donaire now. Yeah, that would be an interesting fight at this stage. I mean, both of them are probably pretty short. I mean, Donaire got destroyed in his last fight, and Rigo lost his last fight too, and had like something blow up in his face, didn't he? So yeah, maybe that could be a good retirement fight for both men. It'd be a relatively big fight too. They could have that in the Philippines. That'd be interesting. Be an interesting fight at this stage. I'd favour Donaire at this stage. Probably by decision. I don't think he'd stop Rigo. I think he'd probably win by decision. GPB tried to kill Kovalev for the Canelo fight. He had to stay around at 175 for 2 full months. Yeah. Weight drained. But at the same time, I don't think it was just being weight drained. I don't think it was just them Golden Boy weight draining him. I think he was also paid off. I think he took a dive. But that's just my personal opinion. Here's what it is, man. Here's what it is. You want to see Wilder kill Ward? Nah. I would watch the fight, though, because it would be interesting because, Wilder has no boxing skill. And Ward did say that he wanted to be a heavyweight, didn't he? And, he would get inside and try and foul Wilder. But what Wilder would probably just club him behind the head and knock him spark out. He probably would. And it would be fun to watch. It would. Canelo versus Ward would be interesting, yeah. I would actually favour Ward over Canelo. Like, I think he could legitimately beat Canelo on points in a real fight. I don't think he'd stop him, but I think he could win on points in a real fight. Just long-range boxing on the outside, he could win it. Fury, Usyk, Joyce, Joshua, Wilder. Yeah, I'd pretty much agree with that, actually, yeah. Question between Wilder and Ruiz, though, but it is what it is. Joyce would beat AJ and White, I think. Yeah, I think he would definitely beat White. AJ would have a puncher's chance, but I think Joyce could walk him down and stop him. Like, AJ's dangerous for anybody because he punches hard. And for a big man, he's quite fast. But I think Joyce has a much better chin, a much higher boxing IQ, and he has much better stamina. He's physically bigger, he's stronger, he's got more of a punch variety, and he's just got a much more confidence as far as I'm concerned. And I think if he could survive the early rounds, he would break Anthony Joshua down, and he would definitely stop him. So yeah, I don't see it going the distance, that fight. I think either Joyce just gets sparked early, which I don't think is very likely, or he stops AJ late, maybe similarly to how he did against Joseph Parker. But yeah, I'd favour Joyce. Where was I? 1 second. Donaire would beat Rigo now. I agree, probably would. Probably on points. Rigo has pressure cooker problems. Got to get a win over it before Donaire. Yeah, he has to cook his dinner and not have it blow up in his face before he gets that rematch. Ward was a heavyweight in Creed 2, got beat. Yeah, Michael B. Jordan kicked his ass. And so did Tony Bellew. He kicked his ass at the weigh-in. That would have been an interesting fight. Like, see at cruiserweight or heavyweight, Ward versus Bellew. I would have liked to have seen that fight. It would have been interesting. Imagine being schooled by Andre Ward. Froch has to live with the shame, yeah. Being schooled by Andre Ward, who didn't foul as much too. Wilder KO's Ruiz. Probably at this point, yeah. Ruiz doesn't seem to have the punch resistance anymore. He needs to eat a few more tacos and some burgers and put on more weight, you know? He can train for the fight at Taco Bell or Burger King, and that'll be fun. Ward would get disqualified against Canelo. Too many low blows, and the boxing establishment would favour Canelo. Yeah, the establishment seems to have invested more into Canelo than they have in Ward because he's a bigger name, and he just has more. He brings more to the table financially, you know. Andre Ward would be a great MMA fighter. Yeah, he probably would. He's got all the makings of an MMA guy, you know, all the clinching and the elbowing and stuff like that. Stick him in with flipping John Jones or someone, or Conor McGregor, who knows? Ward beats Canelo easily. I agree, he would beat Canelo. He'd probably just outbox him, win on points, but, you know, maybe he gets disqualified. Who knows? Do you find Eddie's downfall funny? What you drinking? I'm drinking Iron Brew at the moment. Got a big case of them, but yeah, Eddie's downfall. Nah, to be honest, for some reason, I kind of felt bad for Eddie Hearn, and I don't know if that's just me trying to be different. If I'm just being like trying to think differently to other people, because for some reason I didn't find it as funny as a lot of people because they were saying that Eddie was you know, a hypocrite over the Conor Ben situation, which he was. And I kind of think because everybody was saying it and because it was turning into a bit of a witch hunt, I kind of just didn't want to get involved, you know, because I thought there was more to that story than people were going on with, you know, more than meets the eye. Bellew would have to bring his developed power out of nowhere abilities to beat Ward. Yeah, yeah. The Bellew from the Makabu fight or or the Usyk fight could probably have beaten Ward by knockout. But I think if they'd fought at light heavyweight, I'd favour Ward because Bellew was drained and didn't have the same kind of durability and power. But, you know, Bellew with his power that developed out of nowhere would have made it an interesting fight for sure. I would like to see it. What's your favourite type of cheese? Um, Extra mature cheddar. That's my favourite type of cheese. I think that's the tastiest type of cheese. Good to see you, John Gonzalez. God bless you, brother. Have a Merry Christmas. God bless you. I think Miller got in JJ's head in the press conference. Yeah, he certainly did. Maybe that's why he failed a test because he got in AJ's head, and AJ and his team thought, this guy's dangerous, man. He's coming to win. So yeah, they might have set him up. Who knows? Wouldn't surprise me one bit. VADA testing, you can't trust it, man. Strange how these matchroom guys develop power out of nowhere. Froch, Bello, Crawler, Conor Ben. Yeah, there was like a whole stretch of like a big time period in British boxing, wasn't there, where these matchroom guys were having these like massive knockout upsets. Like you had Froch knocking out Butte, Bellew knocking out Makabu and Hay and whatnot, Crawler not knocking out Barroso. And, you know, all these guys were winning fights that people thought they were going to lose, and they were doing so by knockout, and they were showing crazy power that just either never showed to the same level again or just disappeared. And to me, Froch and Bellew are the biggest examples of that. Crawler too, definitely with the Barroso fight. And Conor Ben, you know, was struggling with Journeyman. Then all of a sudden he started knocking guys out. And it makes you wonder, is it state sponsored doping? Is it like steroids, PEDs, drugs, performance enhancers? Is that what's causing this? Are these guys like getting juiced up before these fights? Or is it loaded gloves, or is it both? I don't know, because I mean, look, I've talked about the Froch situation at length. You know, him, of course, supposedly having his hand wrapped without anybody being there to observe it from Butte's team. You know, saying that my gloves are heavy on the stool after the first round. I mean, why are his gloves heavy after the first round? I don't know, but apparently his trainer Rob McCracken knew about it because he said, "Yeah, I know." Getting the knockout in the kind of fashion that he's never done before against a world class opponent who's never been stopped before, and then of course not taking his gloves off after the fight. That to me is the most shocking example of what you're talking about there, of a situation in boxing that just didn't make any sense. Froch never had that kind of power, and yeah, to me it's just so dodgy, and there should have been an investigation, and I don't think there ever was, and it's too late for it now. That if anything happened there, it will never come out in the open. And again, Bellew, Crawler, Conor Ben, there were some similar situations there. Yeah, yeah, Ben got power out of nowhere. He was literally a laughing stock 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, certainly was, and the power did come out of nowhere. And the failed drug test makes you wonder, doesn't it? Really makes you wonder. Bonner Ken defo juice, yeah. I mean, he had all the signs, didn't he? I'm not saying he didn't juice, but I still think that whole Eubank situation was a publicity stunt. Like, I don't think that fight was going to happen, and I was never convinced that it was going to happen, even when it was set. Nice to see you, Sherry. Yep, yep. Happy Christmas to you too, man. God bless you. Great to see you here every time. What's your opinion, Cotto, Margarito one, and the loaded glove situation? Me personally, I think that the loaded gloves situation was partially it was to excuse Miguel Cotto's defeat. Part of it was just that idiot Nazim Richardson just trying to play mind games before the fight, and part of it was to kind of set Margarito up so that Floyd didn't have to fight him. That's my opinion. I don't think that he loaded his gloves. If he did, there was no evidence and it was thrown out of court. Were you ever high on Warrington? Yeah, I was a big fan of Warrington. I think he's one of the most talented and most skilled fighters in the UK in recent years. I really do. I think he's very underrated. But sadly, he just hasn't shown it in recent fights. He's fought very poorly. What's your take on that YB guy and Tyan Booth? I don't know much about YB. I don't think I've watched him, or if I have, I haven't watched him much. And Tyan Booth, I've never seen the hype. I've seen like one of his videos. That's all I had to see. Nothing against the guy. I just not my cup of tea. Conor Ben has lost a lot of weight now. In recent pictures, he looks small. Interesting. Maybe he's off the juice. I don't know. We'll see. God bless you too, and nice to see you. Mind games that made me laugh. Yeah, yeah, man. Oh, I'm getting tired. I don't believe Margarito or Fury loaded their gloves. They didn't do enough damage. Compare them to Froch versus Butte, no comparison. Yeah, I mean, Wilder was able to take so many punches in that first fight, was never hurt once. And yeah, I don't know what evidence they claim they have that he loaded his gloves. And it's the first fight that they're referring to when they say he loaded his gloves, because that was where all the dodgy pictures came from, not the second fight. The second fight he had path in sport. And Margarito, again, there's no evidence that he loaded his gloves. It was thrown out of court. As for the Froch Butte situation, though, that's a completely different situation because Butte was severely damaged after that fight to the point where he was never the same again. And if you look at the fight closely, he doesn't even get hit cleanly. Like, the punches that hurt Butte in that fight are mostly grazing shots because Froch doesn't really throw proper punches. He didn't really have great punching technique. Yet, when he would just graze Butte with a shot, it was hurting him badly. And Butte just looked to me like he'd been beaten with a blunt object. That looked to me like a guy who had been hit over the head with a hammer or something like that. Like, he didn't look to me like he'd just been in a fight. So, yeah, that to me is a different situation. And the way that they behaved after the fight, refusing to take the gloves off, saying my gloves are heavy in the corner after the first round. not having the gloves be viewed by a member of Bute's team, not being an investigation, nobody in the media mentioning it, him even leaving the arena wearing the gloves. I've never seen that before with Froch, So to me, that situation was so dodgy, and there was so much more evidence for that than there was for Margarito or Fury, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I agree, man. I really do. Sleepy. Yeah, I'm a bit sleepy, man. I am a little bit. I'm actually a bit sleepy. I'm yawning now. I'm trying to stay up late. It's Christmas Eve, man. Don't want to go to bed. Looking forward to my presents though. Yeah, I don't want to go to bed. I always tend to stay up late on Christmas Eve. Might even play a game. Do you know what I used to do on Christmas Eve? I used to play Crash Bash. That was kind of a tradition of mine. I used to play that on Christmas Eve. Tank versus Garcia outcome. If that's a real fight, I think Garcia can outbox Tank. He's the bigger guy, the taller guy, he's faster. But Garcia has shown a dodgy chin. So if Tank is able to catch him, he can knock him out. But at the same time, Garcia is a lot faster, and I think he probably hits harder too. He could knock him out from distance. So that's a fascinating fight, and I think Garcia has a lot of the physical advantages. But the problem is he's shown mental weakness, and he's shown a dodgy chin, like against Luke Campbell. So we'll see what happens, man. So, some say Froch still has his gloves on to this day. Yeah, he still sleeps with them, innit? And his missus tells him to take them off. He's having none of it. He's like, nope, I'm keeping them on. These are my gloves. These are the gloves I used to knock out Lucien Bute. And I knocked out George Groves in front of 80,000 at Wembley. And I thought I did enough. Hey, Silver the Hedgehog, good to see you. God bless. Sherry, hope you get sleep tonight and keep warm. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I certainly will. Certainly will. I'm going to use 2 blankets and I'm going to get nice and snug because it's been a cold winter, man. It's freezing cold over here. It really is. Canelo or Kawasaki legacy? Kawasaki, because at least his fights were real and he genuinely conquered the super middleweight division in an era when that was very unlikely to happen, Had a long run as champion and never lost. Great career. The gloves stay on during sex. Could you imagine him being the type of person that like wears the gloves walking around the house, like shadow boxing in the mirror with the gloves on and that? I can imagine it. That'd be funny. Yep, keeping the gloves on. Sleep well tonight and stay warm. I certainly will. Thanks a lot, Silver. God bless. Did you see your colleague KO Luke Watkins a while ago? I can't remember if I watched like a highlight of that. I didn't watch it live. I may have seen a highlight. But yeah, I didn't like follow that fight or anything. Luke Watkins was an all right prospect at the time as well. And so that was a good win for a colleague. He kept them on for the second Groves fight. When was Froch ever a one-punch KO artist? Never. Nah, he was a guy who usually preferred the referee stoppage, the Howard Foster stoppage. He was that type of fighter. Kawasaki versus Otke, who wins? Kawasaki on points, UD. I think he just throws way too many punches. He's too active, too mobile. Otke would have his moments and he would maybe land the cleaner shots. In fact, he would probably land the more effective shots. But I think Kawasaki would throw so many more punches and win a wide decision. So yeah, Kawasaki on points and in a fairly competitive fight. Did Groves quit versus Callum Smith in your opinion? Yeah, I believe he did. To be fair though, I think he had a bad training camp because he had that injury. And I just don't think he was ever going to be at his prime. And I think he realized he wasn't going to make it the 12 rounds, so he just gave up. I mean, he did the best he could based on the situation he was in, the circumstances going into that fight. Everything went against him. And in retrospect, you could say that that fight would have needed to have been postponed for another few months to get the shoulder right, It's cold here in North America. getting it too. It might cold all over the earth. Probably. God bless you, Angel. I like the review, the Polar Express. Oh, thanks. Yeah, yeah. I reviewed that last Christmas. Interestingly, see if you stay tuned for 12 o'clock tonight. I'm uploading another review. I'm going to be reviewing another game with a Christmas theme. So yeah, stay tuned for that. That's coming later tonight. That's part of the reason I'm trying to stay up, because I don't want to fall asleep before I upload that, because I want to upload it on the 25th. So yeah, you guys, if you're interested in gaming, stay tuned for that. Yeah, I think Kawasaki on points. Very windy and cold here in NYC. Oh, you live in NYC? Awesome, awesome. Yeah, is it cold over there? Interesting. Yeah, it's freezing in Scotland at the minute. It's a nice cold winter. I love it, man. I love a nice cold winter. I prefer the cold weather. I'm one of these people. Callum Smith was made for prime Groves, tall, stiff, easy to hit. Yeah. See, I picked Groves going into that fight, but the thing is, the shoulder was on my mind. That was why I wasn't surprised that Smith was able to win it. But I think that if it was Groves, like you say, at his prime, I think he would have taken Callum Smith apart. I don't think he would have stopped him, but I think he would have put a beating on him, and I think he would have won by a wide decision. Best Christmas movie, Elf, hands down. Then Home Alone. Maybe in the future you could review Home Alone. Yeah, I'll probably review that. I like that movie. That's a good film. And Elf is an amazing film. I reviewed that. Was it last year or was it the year before? I can't remember. It might have been last year. No, I think it was the year before I reviewed Elf. That's a great movie. I love that movie. And tonight I actually watched Die Hard. I was talking about that earlier in the stream. Me and the missus, we watched Die Hard, and that's my probably that and Elf are my two favorite Christmas movies of all time. And yeah, it's awesome. I loved it. Had a curry and watched Die Hard. It was fun. Had a good night. Yeah, Christmas films, like I said, Die Hard, Elf, Home Alone. I liked The Polar Express. I liked what are the Christmas films? Trying to think what there's quite a few Christmas films I like, but those are the ones that stand out. You know, Batman Returns. I think that's all right. Um, yeah, there's quite a few Christmas films. Quite a few of them. That I like that movie. Have you ever seen that film Four Christmases? I think that's a good film. So watch that sometimes on Christmas. I liked. Um, hmm. But yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, my two favorite are Elf and what do you call it? Elf and Die Hard. I also like A Christmas Carol. That's a good film. The one with Patrick Stewart, I actually like. I'm in NYC as well. Cold as balls, awesome. That's interesting. That's crazy that I've got subscribers from New York, man. That's weird to think about. I'd love to go to New York one day, man. I'd love to visit it. I never get snow where I live at Christmas time. It's always February or March. Yeah, it's usually February or March here that it snows, but it did snow last week here. So we had snow before Christmas in Scotland this year. We don't always, but we usually do at some point. But yeah, I'm expecting there might be snow in February and March. Again, it's usually thicker around about February and March. If Beevil versus Canelo 2 happens, it will likely be a complete fix, especially if it's at 168. Wouldn't be surprised to see Beevil take a knee and smile. Yeah, randomly take a knee and smile like Callum Smith did. Or like what's his name? Rocky Folding did. But yeah, they would have the perfect excuse, wouldn't they? If it was at 168, they could say, "Oh well, he was weight drained. He had to move down." So yeah, perfect excuse to set up a Canelo win, isn't it? Yeah, it's cold here too, man. How can Zoo beat Charlo? I don't think he will. I think he gets stopped late, but I think he could outbox him early. But can't see him winning the fight, especially not in America. 6 degrees and rainy in Ireland. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, Ireland's not too far from here, just across the water and all. How about a Christmas Vacation or a Christmas Story? I don't think I've seen those. I might check them out and let you know what I think. I'm glad I found you because that's how I found you was I was looking for a review on the Polar Express. I clicked on you. Yeah, yeah, that was my last year's Christmas special on the gaming channel was the Polar Express, and yeah, it was a funny game that one. But yeah, I got another one coming at 12 o'clock tonight. Another Christmas game review. Your old da. Good to see you here, your old da. Yeah, Merry Christmas, mate. God bless you. Every time. My Scottish brother. Fantastic Christmas movie is Eyes Wide Shut. Never seen it, but I know what it's about. Also in New York. Almost everyone is at sea. Yeah, I've got like 3 subscribers here from New York. That's crazy, man. I'd love to go to New York one day, man. Like, it's one of them places you see it in all the films, but like I'd imagine it would be quite a sight to go there in person. I'd love to go back to America one day. I went to Disneyland when I was, I think, 10. No, no, no. I was like 8 or something when I went. No, how old was I? I think was it 2004, 2005? I must have been about 10 then when I went to Disneyland. So yeah, so I went to Florida, but I'd love to visit New York and like Texas and a bunch of other places in America. Like, I'd love to go traveling there one day. I think Fury looked sloppy for Chisora. Usyk won't be easy for him now. Usyk's not an easy fight for anybody. He's a technically astute fighter and he's a great athlete. And he's if Fury's not on his game, that could be a difficult fight for him. But it's a winnable fight for him. I hate cold weather. Oh, I love cold weather. I'm the opposite, man. That's the one thing that I still love about Scotland is the weather, man. I love cold weather. I like gaming and anime, but I'm all about both of these. Yeah, yeah. I've never been a big anime guy, but I'm a big gamer. Like, I've been a gamer my whole life, man. Been gaming since the mid 90s. I'm watching all the way from Wisconsin, bro. You're a legend. Oh, thanks, man. God bless you. Shout out to Wisconsin. McDonald's or KFC and Domino's or Pizza Hut. I don't like McDonald's. I think it's rubbish. I used to like KFC, but I've not had it. I mean, last time I had it, it was not very nice, so I've completely gone off it. And I prefer like homemade fried chicken. I think it's better. Domino's or Pizza Hut. It's been years since I had a Pizza Hut. I used to like it as a kid, but I've not been in years and years. Domino's, I actually had a Domino's. I didn't have a whole thing. I had a slice at work because just before Christmas, my boss at work ordered a couple of Domino's for the staff and that, and it was actually quite nice. But I prefer Papa John's. That's my favorite pizza. If you guys have never had a Papa John's, I've got one right across the road from me where I stay, and it's beautiful, man. I love it. Papa John's pizza is my favorite, but I like Domino's though. But I've not had Pizza Hut in years and years, so I can't really comment on what it's like now. I have snow on the ground where I'm at currently. Oh, that's good, man. Awesome. I love snow. Boring 22 degrees Celsius here. Yeah, so I take it. I take it in where you stay, like it's just always summer, isn't it? Like it's just always warm over there. I'd imagine, like even in the winter. Oh, that sucks, man. I would hate like for it to just always be warm. Don't get me wrong, I sometimes don't mind warm weather, but not just when I'm like sitting about doing nothing. I like it when I like it when it's cold. Say when I'm in the house, where it's easier to relax. Because the hot weather just annoys me, whereas cold weather, I don't know, for some reason I just thrive in cold weather. I've got so much more energy, and I just love it. Can't really describe it. But yeah, I love a nice cold winter. Home Alone 1 and 2 are my go-to movies, but secretly I'm a fan of Last Action Hero with Big Stead Head Arnie. Yeah, yeah, Last Action Hero. I watched that a couple of months ago, I think. I've got it on DVD. That's actually one of my favorite Arnold films. I think it's one of his most underrated, and directed by John McTiernan too, who directed Die Hard and Predator. And what I like about that movie is it's like, in my opinion, that's one of the smartest satires of sort of the whole 80s and 90s action movies, and just like the cheese and the tropes. Like, that movie satirizes it so well. And it's weird that it's actually directed by John McTiernan, who made those kinds of movies. So I think that movie's really good. I enjoyed it. That's a good movie. Anybody's not seen it, I'd recommend it. It's like the boy gets like a magic ticket where he's allowed to enter into the movies, and he goes into an Arnold film, and takes him back with him to the real world. I thought that was really funny, that movie, and it was an interesting concept. I doubt Fury trained a day for Chisora. He'd be in much better shape for Usyk. Yeah, he's definitely going to take Usyk a lot more seriously than he took Chisora. No doubt about that. Are you into football? If so, what team? Personally, I'm not into football, no. My family were kind of split. I think my granddad's side were Rangers fans, but my nana's side were Celtic fans. But me me personally, I've never gave a crap about football. Never been interested in football. Just doesn't interest me. I love summer weather when it's nice and warm and hot. I'm the opposite, man. I prefer the cold. I'm from Tennessee. Oh, interesting. Tennessee. I would love to go there, man. That's another one of them places that, like, you see in movies, but you would just love to go there yourself, you know? Domino's is ridiculously expensive. Yeah. It's been a long time since I bought one, like years and years. But like I said before, I got one at work the other day. I had a couple of slices, and it was actually quite nice. I was surprised by how nice it was. But I've always preferred Papa John's. Like, to me, Papa John's is just. I think their pizza tastes so much more fresh. If you know what I mean, it's like stone baked pizza, and it's made fresh, and you get to watch them. And I think it just tastes so much nicer, man. Pizza Hut's the best. Do you know what? I might go for a Pizza Hut sometime because it's like I said, it's been years since I went. Do you like Nando's? Personally, no. I don't really like Nando's. I think Nando's is a little bit overpriced because if you go there, it's just chicken. That's all it is. It's char grilled chicken, which is the cheapest of meats. I mean, you can get a KFC for cheaper than Nando's, and it's probably better quality chicken. It probably is. It's just Nando's because it's like a fancy restaurant. That's the way it looks because of the way they decorate it and whatnot. People think it's like upper class or whatever, but it's just I don't know, man. It's way overpriced in my opinion, and I don't think it's that nice considering the price. Indifferent on Papa John's. Depends on my mood if I like it or not. I love Papa John's, man. Like, in my experience, Papa John's has always been nice. Pizza Hut in the States is horrible, but in Korea, it's a luxury restaurant and delicious. Really? Interesting. I don't know about that. Not gonna lie, I didn't think Martin would beat Rivera that easily. Were you surprised at all? I didn't watch the fight. I didn't follow. I didn't even know who Frank Martin was until recently. So no, I wasn't surprised. I'll need to do a bit more research before I know more about him. Favorite Terminator film and character. My favorite Terminator film's the first one. I used to like the second one more, but as an adult, I like the first one because I just think it's more of a fast-paced survival horror, and it's got more practical effects. I think it's genuinely quite scary. It's genuinely quite tense, and I liked just the acting in that movie's fantastic. Like Michael Bean, the guy that played Kyle Reese, he was probably my favorite character. He was a badass, and I think that was probably Arnold's best performance acting wise. Like he genuinely comes across like a flipping robot in that film, and it's just like the special effects, the story, everything. I think that's a great film. So yeah, the first one, I really enjoyed it. Check out Wintering. The idea is getting in tune with the season. Long early morning hikes, runs, weight training in the cold. Yeah, good idea, man. I reckon if you did that every day, then the cold wouldn't bother you one bit. I like hot weather. I can't with the cold weather right now. It's cold and I'm under my blanket. Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. I think when it comes to cold weather, you have to be acclimatized. Like if, let's say, if you lived in a place that was like really hot, like you lived in Africa or whatever, and then you got on a plane and came to Scotland, you'd probably be shocked. Like your body probably wouldn't be able to react to it, and you'd probably get sick, and you'd probably be like, you'd just feel like crap. But because I obviously live in a cold country. You know, I've gone swimming in freezing cold water. I've walked up mountains on a wearing a t-shirt, this, that, and the other. You know, I'm kind of cold weather doesn't really shock me. It doesn't really bother me. Like when I get up for work in the morning, it's freezing cold outside, and I'm used to it. You know, that's my everyday. So it doesn't bother me. But I can imagine if you live in a region that's warm, and when you get like real waves of cold, I'd imagine you'd feel like really, really like affected by it. It's kind of like me. See, whenever we get heat waves in the UK, I can't handle it. Like I get really, really like I sweat like crazy. I've got no energy, and I just want to have like cold showers. You know, I feel like crap all day, and that's because I'm not acclimatized to the heat. Whereas you guys in places like Texas and whatnot, you know, you guys will be flipping fine with it. You wouldn't our heat waves to you would just be a regular day. But obviously the cold to you is like shocking. So it's kind of the opposite. It just you need to be acclimatized, and I'm obviously acclimatized to the cold. Cold spikes testosterone, survival instinct, good reason to get out in the cold. That is true. Yeah, they say that cold water exposure and just exposure to the cold in general is actually good for your body and good for mental health too. I recently saw Rambo Last Blood again. I remember all the outrage when it came out. Yeah, do you remember that? Do you remember like all the flipping clowns on Twitter were bitching and moaning about that? Yeah, you want to come here? Yeah, I'd love to go there. Who likes donuts? Oh, I love donuts, man. Who doesn't love donuts? Everybody likes donuts. Papa John's is too cheesy. Domino's is freshest for me. See that my experience is Papa John's. I think they have just the right amount of cheese and the right amount of sauce. And what we usually get is we usually get pepperoni and sausage, and I think they go nicely together. You know, and I just always enjoy it. I think Papa John's is one of them that they just to me they get the right balance between it. You know, hot weather with a cold outdoor pool is perfect. Yeah, jump in the pool and cool off. Do you know what? Do you know what I have done? Like the past couple of years when it's been really hot, like when we've had a heat wave, I go over to Loch Lomond and I swim in the water, and that cools me right down. You know, because see if you were to try and swim in Loch Lomond now, like during the winter, suicide. Don't even attempt it. You would not survive. You would freeze to death within minutes. But when you get like a heat wave, you jump in Loch Lomond. It's great, man. It cools you right down. I love swimming there. It's fun. It really is. If you could have unlimited takeaway for one place for a year, where would you choose? Papa John's, man. Without a doubt. Free Papa John's for a year. Sign me up. Sign me up. It was 34 here the other day in British Columbia. Interesting. Minus 34. Wow. That's good. I like it. Me too. I'm nice and warm in my bed under my blanket. Absolutely, man. That's great. I'm gonna be that tonight too. After I upload my video, probably sometime. Heat waves absolutely do me in. Yeah, me too, man. I can't stand them. Can't stand them. I like the cold weather, but can't tolerate cold shower. I can, you know, I can tolerate a cold shower because again, I'm just like I say, I'm so acclimatized to the cold that it doesn't bother me. I enjoy it. I like Kyle Reese also Liquid was good in T2. I like the chase scene. Yeah, the chase scene in that big gorge. That's a badass scene. I really enjoyed it. The first two Terminators are classics, but I like the first one more. How are you doing today? I'm doing great, man. Absolutely great. Popeyes and McDonald's. I never had Popeyes, and I've never been that big a fan of McDonald's personally. My body loves the hot and the warm, but my body and the cold is just I can't handle it. Sorry, it makes my bones hurt. Yeah, like I said, you just some people are just acclimatized to different weathers. You know. Yeah, yeah. You live in a much warmer region, and you'd just be more acclimatized to it. Just like me, because I live in a cold country. You know. Have you seen any toll rag shoplifting around your way this Christmas? I haven't seen it personally, but I have heard that it's happening because obviously the government are taxing the crap out of us to fund this war, and we are, yeah, you know, we're getting flipping. I've talked about this too much, you know. We're getting screwed over right now, and there's people freezing to death who can't afford to pay their bills, they can't afford to heat their houses, and they can't afford to feed themselves. You know, it is what it is, man. So a lot of people are desperate right now. You know, we need some heat. I like hot showers. Yeah, yeah, a lot of people do, man. You don't know what is in the McDonald's burgers. Could be anything in there. Yeah, yeah. McDonald's burgers. I'd be surprised if they're even 20% meat. To be honest, I really would. Me too. I like warm pools and hot showers. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. We've been going for over 2.5 hours, and yeah, I'm pretty tired. So yeah, Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. Thanks to everybody who stopped by, everybody in the chat, and yeah, gonna call it a night. It was great to have you all on here. So yeah, God bless each and every one of you, and thanks for stopping by. Have a great Christmas, every one of you. God bless.